If you've ever thanked a veteran for their service, good on you. Today would be a good day to do that again. Thank you, all veterans, past and current, for allowing us to do what we do here today and keeping our country safe. It is, in fact, Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day out there. The bond market and banks are closed, but the equity markets are open, which means we have a job to do. And that's exactly what we're going to do here today on Benzinga's PreMarket Playbook. It is November 11th, Tuesday, November 11th. 2025. It is Veterans Day. We've got some news out there. Core Reeve reported last night. Oklo reports tonight. I'm sure we'll take a look at all of that. It's a T3 Tuesday. Thank you for your service, veterans. Benzinga's PreMarket Playbook starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. And indeed, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for all of your service out there, both past and current veterans. It's great to have you here. And it's great to have everyone else back here. Zach is first here today. Looks like y'all were having a conversation before I got here. I had a little bit of internet trouble here this morning, but we were able to get that solved, at least knock on wood. Hopefully it's solved. Looks all right for right now. Zach is first here today. Zach, good morning. Good to see you. Welcome back. We're going to have a good day here today. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. Let me skip the conversation that you guys were having. Jane, good morning. Sunkissed Yogi, good morning. Welcome back. Big Dave, good morning. Welcome back. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Ari Stock Market says, buongiorno. Good morning to you as well. Ari Stock Market, hope all is well in your corner of the universe. Peter, it's good to see you again. As always, welcome back. Ryan, good morning. Kelly, good morning. Graf, good morning. Jim, good to see you as always. Welcome back, buddy. Bernhard, welcome back. Smita, welcome back. Oh, Smita, it's snowing by you? Let's go. Where are you at? East Coast, right? I think it's snowing on the East Coast here today. No snow here in Chicago. We got a couple of days of it, and it's actually supposed to be 60 this Saturday. So all the snows here is going to melt, but hopefully it's pretty wherever it's snowing by you, Smita. Good morning. Welcome back. Billy, I think. Welcome back. Neville, it's good to see you again. Imperium, good to see you as always. Yes, that girl. Welcome back. Love the energy. I love if your YouTube handle has energy in it, that's a big positive start. Yes, that girl. You have that. Good morning. Welcome back. Angelito, good morning. Welcome back. Hoot, good morning. Welcome back. Day Trader, locked in as always. Welcome back. Dara, it's good to see you again. Just passing through. And Kevin, welcome back. Blessed Trader, welcome back. Yeah, it's hoodie weather, Blessed Trader. It's hoodie weather. It's 29 degrees outside here in Chicago. So yeah. It's a good excuse to wear a hoodie. I'll take it. Jay Harris, good morning. Welcome back. Yas, good morning. Welcome back. Austin, good to see you again as always. Best Life, good morning. AC, good morning. Lombardo, good morning. Johnny, good morning. JJ, good morning. Jay Harris, good morning. Hey, those puts worked out. Thanks. Awesome. Which puts again were you on? We talked about Tesla yesterday. We talked about Palantir, which only worked temporarily. Let me know, but congrats. I love hearing positive stuff in the morning about money being made. That's fantastic. Cam, good morning. Maverick, good morning. I didn't see the Habs game. Go Habs, go. They get a big win last night. I actually didn't see any hockey last night. My Blackhawks are off till Wednesday. I need to get back into it, though. Hopefully there's something on tonight. We'll see. Good morning. Big Bees, good to see you again. G-Cord, welcome back. Neville, good morning. Cad Monkey, good morning. Smita, you're in Toronto. Okay, so it is actually snowing up there that is the East Coast, pretty much, right by Detroit. It's probably snowing in Detroit, too. Yes, Mid, good morning. Welcome back. Scott, good morning. Brian, good morning. I can't pronounce the Asian character name. I'm sorry, but good morning nonetheless. Matthew, good morning. Brandy, good morning. Good to see you. Oh, it's cold in the South. Wow. Okay, well, cold in Georgia. Brandy, I hope you hold it together there. Day Trader says, who else wakes up at 4:30 a.m. on their day off for this LFG? Yeah, I like I said, man, all you Pacific time zone traders, mad respect, because you have to get up super early just to make the open. But as I mentioned, Day Trader, the equity markets aren't closed, so it's not actually a day off. LOL. although it is Veterans Day. Courtney, good morning. Welcome back. Durkis, good morning. Welcome back. Philip, Lance, and Tyler, good morning. Nuvici, good morning. And Forever to Bitcoin, good morning. Happy Veterans Day. Going to kick another great day by Kodak. Okay, we'll see how Kodak does here today. Let's go ahead and start with the stock market today. All right, futures mixed here this morning, and they're actually down from their high. Oops, I have to share my screen. Now you can start the clip, producer. Futures mixed here this morning. S&P futures turned negative. They're actually down from their pre-market highs. S&P futures down 0.24% as we speak. Dow futures barely holding on to green, up 0.03%, and the NASDAQ futures down 0.44%. It is worth noting that all of these future charts are lower from the pre-market high that they put in during the overnight session. So mixed across the board. We'll see how we open up here. Let's take a look at some cues from last session. Sectors gaining on Monday included consumer discretionary, communication services, and information technology, which posted the biggest increases, while consumer staples and real estate bucked the positive market trend, closing lower. The U.S. Senate passed a 60-40 vote with support of nearly all of the chamber's Republicans, thanks Rand Paul, and 8 common sense Democrats. The bill will now proceed to the House of Representatives and has to later be signed by President Trump and signed into law. The bond market will remain closed for Veterans Day, according to the securities industry and the financial markets. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show markets are pricing in 63.7% likelihood of the Federal Reserve cutting the current interest rates in the December meeting. I believe after the last meeting, we saw the CME Fed Watch Tool immediately say 68%. It's jostled between now and then, but now we find ourselves at just about 64%. So pretty much in line with where we were right after we got the cut. I know there was a lot of hoopla back and forth about, oh my gosh, are we not going to get a cut in December? When does the next cut happen? The whole 9 yards. But the percentage here from the CME Watch Tool, very, very close to what it was the day that we heard from Powell. We do have some more stocks in focus here. The first one's going to be NVIDIA. NVIDIA slipped 1.31% in pre-market on Tuesday after SoftBank revealed that it sold its entire stake in the U.S. chipmaker for $5.83 billion. Now, first things first, this is a tremendous gain here for SoftBank, so congratulations on the successful, humongous trade. The bigger note here is this the start of rotation? Some of the things that we have been discussing as a group have been eventually there are going to be investors that rotate out of some of these high flyer names like NVIDIA. Also think Palantir while you're on that route. And now we're seeing SoftBank liquidate its entire stake. Now that money is likely to rotate elsewhere, so it's not necessarily something to be afraid of. But if this happens more and more, what does that mean overall for tech and perhaps more specifically the AI trade? Be interesting to watch this, and I'm curious to get your folks' feelings on what the SoftBank liquidation means, if anything. Next stock on our list here is going to be Big Bear AI. That's ticker BBAI. That surged 20.32% as it reported revenue of $33.14 million, which beat the estimate of $31.82 million, and a third quarter loss of 3 cents per share, which beat the expectations of 7 cents loss per share. So BBAI having a nice morning here today. Rocket Lab is the third stock on our list here. That's ticker RKLB. That soared 9.5% after it posted revenue of $155.05 million, beating the consensus of $151.75 million, and a third quarter loss of 3 cents per share, which beat the analyst estimate loss of 11 cents per share. So Rocket Lab also trading up here today. We'll see if that has any impact on any of the other space stocks that we've traded quite often around here. The next stock on our list here is going to be Paramount Skydance. This is ticker PSKY. That gained 4.92% despite missing its third quarter earnings, but it said it expects an additional $1 billion in merger savings. Also, it announced a new round of layoffs that will affect around 1,600 employees and said it plans to raise the price of its Paramount Plus streaming service in the first quarter of next year. How many of you have Paramount Plus? And what's the big draw to Paramount Plus? What's the content on there that you're after? Curious about that one. Live Person is the next stock on our list here. That's ticker LPSN. That jumped 12.79% after reporting better than expected results and raising its full year 25 sales guidance. The company said it now sees fiscal year 2025 sales of 235 million, to 240 million. That's up from the previous outlook of 230 to 240 million. LPSN maintains a weak price trend over the short, medium, and long term with a poor growth score. Part of me wonders when and if this stock is going to turn around. Last stock here on our list is going to be Outset Medical. This is ticker OM. That tumbled 25.68% after reporting worse than expected third quarter financial results and cutting its full year 25 sales guidance below estimates. So OM. That was my fault, producer. Don't you worry about that. That was 100% this guy's fault. I forgot where we were. So don't even worry about that. You might have to clean that clip up a little bit. Next, we'll go back to the SPY here. Really quickly, I feel like I should have known this, Kenneth. Kenneth, thank you. Landman is the content on there. Apparently, that makes a lot of sense. Landman, I feel like, is talked about quite a bit. Ernest says, I watched Survivor and Big Brother. Ryan is saying, I've been screaming PSKY. Paramount is better than Netflix. Okay. Benjamin, thank you for answering. I only subscribe to Paramount for South Park. Okay. Billy says several Taylor Sheridan shows on Paramount. God, you guys are going to laugh. I don't even know who that is. Wife pays for Paramount Plus to watch daytime soaps since we don't have live TV. Well, happy wife, happy life just passing through. That'll work. But this answers my question. South Park, Landman, Big Brother. Looks like there are a lot of fairly popular shows. And Matthew here saying the NFL is going to be on there. That wouldn't surprise me either. So, okay, really good stuff there. Appreciate that, folks. That makes a lot of sense. Looking at the SPY here, I've got this trend line that for whatever reason will not save. But yesterday, it comes into play here today because yesterday, not only did we trade up above the 20-day moving average, but we actually found resistance at this trend line. This trend line originated from the 3-day period here of Thursday, October 30th, Friday, October 31st, Halloween, and then the following Monday, November 3rd. This 3 series of days really kind of, it stopped the move down that we had, but really kind of sketched out the fact that we are still in a downtrend. Now, several days later, yesterday, the 10th, we actually tested this trend line, and here we are again, weak in the pre-market, or weaker than we were in the pre-market. So you know what this means. This absolutely sets up a key level here for today. Estimating this just by kind of looking at this, we're going to call it 683. The high yesterday occurred in the after hours, and it was 682.33. So really only 67 cents away from hitting that 683 area. To me, that is definitely going to be a key level to the upside today. If we break that, I would imagine we probably start looking at the high here, which was 689.70. I don't know without a positive catalyst if we're going to get there today, but these are going to be 2 of the key levels that I'm going to watch. And on the flip side, we're definitely going to be watching the 20-day moving average, as we have been pretty much this entire trend higher from April. 675.5 is where we currently find our 20-day moving average. As a reminder, it's 673. We're marked off on the chart here at 672.99. It's going to be a previous all-time high breakout level. If we have any extended down move here today, those are likely going to come into play. If we take a look inside on the SPY chart, kind of get an idea of where we're at, here's yesterday's low. That came right here at 675. The big low to pay attention to is going to be this one down here at 661. I think something big would have to happen for us to really kind of make a move down to that level. But these are, in fact, the numbers that we'll keep in mind depending on what we get out of the SPY here today. Let's go ahead and take a look at some insights from analysts here. Professor Jeremy Siegel describes the economy that is holding in, but grappling with significant uncertainty, primarily from the ongoing government shutdown. Thankfully, that looks like that's coming to an end here. Siegel warns the shutdown, quote, has potential to shave 1.5 to 2 percentage points off Q4 GDP, depending on its duration. While the White House's economy engine has refused to stall, the near-term fiscal and trade outlook remain clouded by this uncertainty. This is compounded by mixed labor data and potential volatility from an upcoming Supreme Court ruling on the tariff authority. Trump said yesterday that even if this gets overturned, he's got other plans. That's the first time we've heard that. It's really been more of a defense from him over the last several days, or when they at least started these hearings. Again, I don't know that I have enough information to say with certainty which way we're going to go from that, but this is where we're at so far. In this environment, Siegel notes that financial markets are not complacent, with volatility metrics indicating market participants are hedging their portfolios. And I'll be honest, that makes a lot of sense right now. We've talked a lot about being up near all-time highs. There's been a lot of discussions about what happened next, whether it's a big sell-off, a small sell-off, rotation into other names, the whole 9 yards. We've talked a lot about the VIX. VIX currently sitting here at 1789. Really, that VIX level that has really been the good buy level for insurance and hedging is 15. And we're almost 3 full points away from that actual 15 level. We'll see if the VIX melts a little bit more. I suspect if the VIX moves down, you'll have further opportunities to buy more insurance. I think that probably dries up once the VIX gets to 15, if it in fact gets there. Despite this caution and the prevalence of bearish head fakes, Siegel maintains a constructive forward-looking view on equities. He points to persistent AI capital expenditures and the Federal Reserve's accommodative rate cut path as key supports. Ultimately, Siegel states, quote, "I see a better than even chance that dips will be met with fresh buying," end quote. And this really boils down everything that we've been looking at here today. No matter what side you're on and no matter what the big catalyst is, it's really come down to, are buy the dippers still around? And in fact, they have proven that they are. Siegel here thinks that any other dip is going to be met with the same type of buying that we've seen throughout the course of the year. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll see if he ends up being correct. The bond market will be closed in observation of Veterans Day, but Fed Governor Michael Barr will speak at 10:25 a.m., and October's NFIB Optimism Index was released earlier this morning at 6 a.m. All right, let's take a look at Intel here. You know what we should do is we should probably start with the chart. Intel has been a huge winner for pretty much anyone that was trading this off the long side. I know it took a while, but boy, when it went, and it went quickly. It actually did a really good job behaving around some of these levels. So if we back out a little bit here, with the downtrend that we currently find ourselves in, even with the rip higher off the lows here, this originated back in 2021. And sure, we peaked above that here. We dipped back beneath it. So far, we're holding the 20, but this actually sets up for a fairly important spot, if you ask me. We're either going to come back into some of these levels, maybe even retest the 500, maybe even retest the gap fill, or we're going to break out from this trend line here. And you can see if we do break out from that trend line, we're going to have plenty of good targets to the upside here for Intel. First one that jumps off the page for me is 46.5. Then probably this other high where we drew that trend line through, that's up here at 51. 46.5 and 51 represent other upside targets from Intel here. The big trigger for us, can we actually break through that trend line? Great that we're doing a good job holding the 20-day right now. What's next, however? Can we break above that trend line and give us another trade? Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan will personally oversee the company's artificial intelligence initiatives after CTO Sachin Katti left the chipmaker to join OpenAI. Katti, who led Intel's AI efforts since a management reshuffle in January, announced on X that he's going to join OpenAI. And for anyone that wants to go through this, I'm going to drop this in the chat here for you. There you go. Intel thanked Katti for his contributions, stating, Lip-Bu will lead the AI and advanced technologies groups working closely with the team, end quote. That came from Reuters. Quote, AI remains one of Intel's highest strategic priorities, and we are focused on executing our technology and product roadmap across emerging AI workloads, end quote. ChatGPT maker President Greg Brockman praised Katti's new role, noting that it will be designing and building our compute infrastructure, which will power our AGI research and scale its applications to benefit everybody. Cotty's exit is part of a broader trend of top executives leaving Intel since Tan took over in March and initiated a turnaround strategy. The company has struggled to attract major customers for its contract manufacturing business. It faces stiff competition from NVIDIA and Taiwan Semiconductors in the AI chip race, While Intel's central processors are used in AI server systems, the company has yet to produce a data center AI chip that rivals the performance of NVIDIA's offerings. You might even want to throw AMD in there because they look to be closing the gap as well. Tan has restructured Intel's leadership, flattening the hierarchy and promoting internal executives. Naga Chandrasekhan, formerly in charge of Intel's manufacturing subsidiary, now has expanded responsibilities for external contract manufacturing. Intel has also brought in new talent from outside, including former ARM Holdings executive Kevork Kechichian, I think. I butchered his name. I got Chandrasekhar on here, but I butchered this name here. I'm sorry about that, Kevork. To oversee the data center unit. On Monday, Intel also appointed Craig Barat, PhD, who's 63 years old, to its board of directors, effective immediately. Barat will serve as an independent director. Intel reported third quarter revenue of $13.65 billion, which beat the analyst expectations of $13.14 billion. Adjusted earnings were 23 cents per share, well above the estimate of 1 cent. Year-over-year growth was modest across segments. Client Computing Group rose 5% to $8.5 billion. Data Center and AI slipped 1% to $4.1 billion, and all others climbed 3% to $1 billion. Intel products grew 3% to $12.7 billion, and the Intel Foundry fell 2% to $4.2 billion. All right. Now we get to the stock that everybody's been waiting for. It's Rigetti Spaghetti time. They reported earnings here. Rigetti's down 2.96% here in the pre-market. Starting with the daily chart, you can see exactly where we're at. First of all, we had been talking about how the entry trigger for the short trade here on Rigetti was going to be the tap of the 20-day. That lasted for a few weeks. Now we're starting to fall even lower, and the question becomes, where's our new entry trigger? Well, we just lost the 50-day. We have this big earnings event out of the way. The 50-day is actually lining up pretty well with the top end of this sideways area that we denoted as a support area. That is right around 34-ish. The 50-day moving average is at 33.81. Let's call it 34-ish. Part of me wonders if this is going to be entry for the RGTZ trade that has paid so well for our group here. If we trade up to test the 50-day and we can't break above the 50-day, I think it's probably prudent to maybe try that trade for a move back down to the end of this range. Again, we'll see how Rigetti fares here. I think it also is worth noting, if I recall correctly, I believe that the options implied a 10% move. Yes. So Rigetti Computing options imply a 10% move. So far here this morning, we're only getting 2.81%. So it looks like the option sellers here are going to win this print. Again, we'll see how that shakes out here today. Here's Rigetti. We got the numbers there on the screen for you. Shares fell after the company released the mixed third quarter earnings after Monday's closing bell. Rigetti Computing reported quarterly losses of 3 cents per share, which beat the analyst estimate loss of 4 cents per share. Good job there. Quarterly revenue came in at $1.94 million, which missed the street estimate of $2.17 million. And this is really remarkable. I kind of want to pause here. So first of all, they missed on sales revenue. They missed on revenue. The target was $2.17 million. They came in at $1.94 million. What's amazing about this is that if we look at Rigetti, Rigetti's market cap is $10.7 billion. And they're barely making $2 million a quarter. I mean, I'm sorry, no matter what you feel about the quantum computing segment or where this is going to go in the future, it almost doesn't matter. This stock straight up is expensive. It is overpriced, just period, end of story. Now, maybe in the future, quantum computing becomes a linchpin in what we're doing and the economy and all of that. And all of that might be true at some point in the future. But right now, where we sit, day trader's exactly right. That's a joke. That's a joke. So just understand that when we're trading this here, some of the stuff isn't going to make sense. That doesn't mean that we can't have successful trades, but just know what you're trading. We say that a lot when we trade some of the junky movers, but it bears worth noting here with some of the bigger stocks that we talk about on a regular basis too. Rigetti provided the following 2026 to 2027 technology roadmap updates. They expect to deploy a 150 plus qubit system by or around the end of 2026 with anticipated 99.7 median 2-bit gate fidelity. Okay, so I can't tell you exactly what the median 2-qubit gate fidelity is, but what I can tell you is that one of their big things that they expect to deploy is not due until the end of next year. So again, I just think we got a little bit ahead of ourselves on some of these stocks. That's fine for trading, but if you have a long-term investing view, there might be some more calculus that you have to do here. Rigetti expects to deploy a 1,000 plus qubit system by or around the end of 2027 with the anticipated 99.8% medium 2-qubit gate fidelity. So they are looking to ramp here, but again, it's just important to keep some of these timelines in perspective. We're not looking at quantum computing in any meaningful way next week or early in 2026. And we're not even sure what this is going to mean in terms of its usefulness on a day-to-day basis. Again, not trying to be bearish. This stock is made for great trading for our group on both sides of the trade. So I would encourage traders to, again, be nimble and look for opportunities on both sides, but just be informed about what it is that you're trading here. Quote, the past quarter, we saw strong momentum with both the demand for our for our on-premises quantum computers and the development of collaborations to advance our own research and development and the quantum ecosystems more broadly. That came from Dr. Subho Kulkarni, the Rigetti CEO, remember, who doesn't own any shares of his own company. On the technology front, we remain on track to deliver our 100 plus qubit chipset-based quantum system with an anticipated 99.5 medium 2-qubit gate fidelity by the end of 2025. According to data from Benzinga Pro, Rigetti computing stock was down 2.57%. The meaningful thing there is that it did not get the move that the options implied. So again, I don't want to poo-poo a company too early here, but I just want to exercise some caution. This actually makes for a great short-term trading vehicle, and that, I think, is where it remains here. Tenzin says, quantum computer is a lie. Day Trader says, seems like just a matter of time before they raise money. Bill says, quantum needs 0 Kelvin to work. All of those things, not easy to come by. Not easy to come by. Okay, next, let's talk a little bit about NVIDIA. You know what we should do? We should also start with the NVIDIA chart here. Well, let me go to NVIDIA and bring up this chart. Here we are. NVIDIA down just about 2% here, but holding at 195 and really doing a good job, holding above the 20-day. The recent move that we've made was a bounce that corresponded with the trend line and the 50-day moving average. And actually, now that I look at it with the way I have this chart here, let me actually go back to April because kind of a big event took place there. This actually looks like a bounce off the volume point of control too. So our levels here, our key levels become pretty clear. 178 is definitely one, 184.5 is definitely one, and 191.67 is definitely one. We're up here at 195. Let's see if the top is in. It does look like a double top on the daily chart here. Let's see if the highs for 2025 are in for NVIDIA. Here's what's going on with this. SoftBank unloads $15 billion worth of NVIDIA and T-Mobile stakes to fund its AI push. That part makes sense. SoftBank has raised over $15 billion by offloading its high-profile stakes in T-Mobile and NVIDIA, and as detailed in its fiscal second quarter earnings report. These sales are part of a continued financing initiative over large-scale investments, most notably its massive follow-on commitment to ChatGPT maker OpenAI. The Japanese conglomerate sold its entire stake in the U.S. chip designer NVIDIA in October. This complete sale of 32.1 million shares held by both SBG and its asset management subsidiary fetched about $5.83 billion. During the 6 months ended September 30th of 2025, it also completed a partial sale of its T-Mobile stake. This involved 40.2 million shares and fetched $9.17 billion in proceeds. Yeah, they made more from the T-Mobile stake than they did from the Nvidia one. The earnings report highlights that the company obtained an $8.5 billion bridge loan for the first closing of its OpenAI investment in April of 2025. With the second closing of an additional $22.5 billion investment in OpenAI planned for December of 2025 and a $6.5 billion bridge loan arranged for the acquisition of Ampere, these multi-billion-dollar sales provide critical capital for SoftBank's deepening pivot into artificial intelligence. The key takeaway here is that our thought about potential rotation out of market leaders like NVIDIA and Palantir, and you could even throw Apple in there, and rotating into new AI companies as they become available, this pretty much gives a lot of credence to that. So I think that what we can anticipate looking into 2026, because I don't know when these IPOs are going to be, but I do suspect at least 2 or 3 humongous AI-focused IPOs in calendar year 2026. I expect funds to be raised for that, whether it be from companies like this or actual firms that might hold some of these stocks. I think it makes sense to sell NVIDIA if you're sitting on a $5 billion plus gain, or Palantir probably double that. If you're sitting on these gains, it makes sense to ring the register on some of those trades and then roll it into the next big theme here. Everyone seems to be on AI as being the next big thing and really not slowing down. So I would anticipate this type of market action going forward as we see some more of those IPOs. Again, that's going to be something, as soon as the calendar turns, I'm going to be watching for a potential move down, but I'm also going to be watching for some different IPO activity. We already covered kind of where NVIDIA is. We'll see where that ends up shaking out here. More AI news here. Scott Galloway warns of a potential OpenAI collapse, triggering an ugly market shock. Quote, "There's going to be nowhere to hide," end quote. Scott Galloway, a best-selling author and NYU professor, has issued a dire warning about the potential collapse of OpenAI, suggesting that it could have far-reaching implications for the global market. Speaking on his Prof G Markets podcast, I'll go ahead and throw the link to the story in here for anyone that wants to take a look at the podcast or any of the clips. That link is in the chat there for you. Galloway highlighted the precarious nature of the current market, which relies heavily on AI. He noted that since ChatGPT's debut in late 2022, AI-related stocks have accounted for about 80% of the market's total gains. Co-host Ed Elson highlighted red flags and cautioned that while OpenAI is bringing in roughly $13 billion in annual recurring revenue, it's spending more than twice that figure. Galloway predicted that OpenAI will likely file for an IPO sometime in 2026, and then Altman wouldn't be able to say sell your shares in an earnings call, as the OpenAI CEO currently said to an investor, Brad Gerstner, who questioned his $1.4 trillion spending plan. Scott Galloway further stated that the potential talks of a taxpayer bailout has evidenced that the firm lacks a sustainable financing strategy and may be forced to turn to debt, a move he believes could mark the beginning of the end for the AI bubble. Anyone else think that? Galloway warned that if the OpenAI narrative falls apart, the ensuing market downturn could be exceptionally severe. Quote, "It's going to be ugly. There's going to be nowhere to hide," end quote. Recently, OpenAI's CFO Sarah Fryer's remark ignited confusion about the company's funding strategy, leading to speculation that the company was seeking a federal bailout. However, CEO Sam Altman quickly quashed these rumors, stating that OpenAI does not seek or want any kind of government guarantee to protect it from failure. Altman has also defended the company's $1.4 trillion investment in infrastructure, stating that OpenAI is bringing in far more revenue than the widely cited $13 billion annual estimate. The company also reportedly plans to launch tailored AI products for governments and businesses, new shopping tools, oh, that's what we need, and revenue streams from its Sora video service and AI agents. I tell you what, I can't go through my Twitter feed without seeing some child feeding a bear or a panther, and it always ends up being one of these stupid Sora videos. It's also exploring new debt financing to expand infrastructure and possibly supply computing power through its Stargate data center project. Now, as you would expect, analysts are divided over the AI bubble. CNBC's Jim Cramer has warned that the company's massive spending spree could test even the strongest bulls in the AI trade, indicating potential cracks in the company's aggressive push to dominate the AI landscape. However, after a $1 trillion wipeout in the Magnificent Seven market value, half of it from NVIDIA, concerns of an AI bubble are mounting. However, Goldman Sachs analyst argues it's too early to compare the surge in the dot-com crash, saying today's market looks more like the early stages of the 1990s tech boom rather than its peak. So we'll see who's right, who has more time, and what happens next. Now, it is Tuesday, which means it's a T3 Tuesday, and we're in luck, folks, because we have a new T3 trader here today. Let's go ahead and bring on T3's guest, Mike Patton. Mike, good morning. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Look, I got a Patton on Veterans Day, so it sure seems like the universe order here today. Really good to meet you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking time out of your day. Let me just get right to it here. First of all, y'all can join Mike for his free webinar today, right? 11/11 at 8 p.m. Eastern to learn how everyday traders are qualifying for fully funded stock and options account in as little as 12 trading days. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. So thanks again. And so I've been trading since 2006. I started actually in the industry in 2005, but it took me until February of 2006 to actually get my licensing and then be able to make some trades. I started out in the commodities market. So we were focusing on energies such as unleaded gasoline futures, crude oil, and natural gas, and mostly for options. And then sometime around 2014, around that time, that's when oil prices started to come down sharply. And it just looked like there was not that much opportunity there. But I saw that the stock market seemed to be bubbling. So I decided to switch at that time over to equities. And that's what I've been doing ever since then with equities and equity options. Also, at that time, I decided to join two prop firms. One was Great Point Capital out of Chicago, and the other is a company called Global Prime. I think they just changed their name recently, but they used to be based in the Cayman Islands. So I was trading remotely for them. And then around 2018 or 19, I decided to just kind of do everything myself. And then around 2022, we started to talk about creating a program where people can get funded because it was such a it's hard to explain, but it's really difficult to get into the prop space back then. It used to be a lot easier, probably 20 years ago. But I realized a lot of people want that, but they didn't have the right connections. They didn't know the right people to get in. So we started Funder Trading officially in 2022, and we've been growing ever since then. And then now we're part of T3. So it's a great partnership. I renewed T3 Trading. They're a great company. Actually, I was considering trading for them. So it's all great now. So I'm really happy that we're able to move things along.
Okay, that's amazing. I will say the T3 guys are fantastic. We enjoy having all of you folks on here. Really, really good stuff. Are you out of Chicago by chance?
I now live in Miami, Florida. I've been here for 2.5 years.
Okay, you'll be happy to know that there's snow on the ground here in Chicago. Probably not the case there in Miami. Do you root for the Bears?
Yeah. Chicago winters are brutal.
Do you root for the Bears at all?
No, I'm an Eagles fan.
Okay. So you had a pretty good fly, Eagles fly. You had a pretty good night last night there. Okay. Victory Tuesday for you. Really good stuff. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your trading style? What kind of trade setups do you like? Do you trade options? Do you trade stocks? Do you trade futures? How do you go and attack the market on a daily basis?
Awesome. Yeah. So basically what I do is I focus now on stocks and stock options only. I rarely trade futures these days. So what I do is for the team, we focus on day trading. So we're going to be looking at day trading stocks and day trading options. And as far as the general approach, I look for momentum. I'm big on momentum trading. The only reason why is because it's always been what I've mostly done well when it comes to stocks. So I teach our members, the traders that are working with us, if they don't already have a great strategy of their own, I just give them some pointers on how I look for stocks. Usually I look for simply a gap and go sort of setup where a stock had
Mhm.
some news or some information that moved it overnight. And then we look for continuation. There are a variety of tools that I look at to do that. But in general, it's just coming down to assessing how strong the move looks, how strong the volume looks, and then looking for trade setups. And then for options, I do like to trade directionally, but I also do non-directional trades and options as well. Collecting premium. But I usually do that more for myself. When I'm day trading, I focus more on directional movement of stocks. And again, usually it's the same stocks that I would trade, by themselves. We'll do the options trades on them as well.
Okay, so a momentum day trader that trades stocks and options is what I heard. Yeah, you're going to fit just fine here in our community. That's about as perfect as it gets. So really good stuff there. Okay, and I also ask all of the T3 guys this. Can you talk a little bit about your morning routine? How do you get prepared for a market day every single day? The reason I asked this is because when I first asked Red Dog about this, he told me about the cold plunge tub that he's doing at 4 o'clock in the morning, the push-ups and all of that stuff to really get his mind right. So I figured, that's pretty hardcore. I might as well ask everyone else about that. Tell us about your morning routine, how you get ready for the market every day.
Yeah, no problem. And actually, I need to try that one. That sounds like a good idea. But what I usually do is what I usually do is I simply read up on headlines in the morning. So I just look for whatever has happened overnight. Now, I admit I usually stay up kind of late. Living in Miami, after coming from Chicago, you get that. It feels like it's an extra hour. So I
Mhm.
usually will stay up a little later. So I'll look at things before I go to bed. And then I have my notes in the morning just to see if anything looks like, I have a standard watch list, but I also keep an eye on other things that are happening. So right now I'm checking out, what's the expected date for the vote on the shutdown in the House, and I'm looking at stocks that had earnings last night or maybe this morning to see what happened and if it looks like there's some opportunities there. So it's mostly just reviewing news and headlines, and also most importantly, making sure I'm aware of all government reports that are coming out during
Mhm.
the day. That's something as a day trader you have to be very, very keen about, and also knowing what the expectations are. So when you know that there's going to be a lot of major data, like later this week, we're going to have a lot of CPI data and PPI data. I think still that the times are tentative. So I have to keep an eye on that to make sure I know what's what. So that way, when we're trading, I kind of set like a timer to tell myself, hey, that report's coming up right now. Make sure you're on guard. And for a lot of the members and a lot of the traders I've worked with over the years, that's something they've said has been a big improvement for their trading, that just being aware of what's coming down the pipeline.
Okay. I love it. I do a lot of the same thing. Prepare, take a look at the news headlines, figure out what's going on. I do like the tip there too about setting some type of alarm for some of those points. That might be something I have to adopt.
Yeah.
All right. Let's dive right into it then. What do you see out there? Any interesting piece of news? Any particular trade setup that you like out there? What do you see out there for today, November 11th?
Okay. So I do think we're going to keep getting increasing movement. I mean, the shutdown has, of course, created a lot of volatility, which for a day trader is great. And for a swing trader probably is great too. So one of the things I'm going to keep watching are headlines about what may be coming up. Obviously, it seems like, since the Senate passed made their agreement, it looks like the House is going to pass the same thing, but you never know. So we're going to keep an eye on a lot of stocks, and especially healthcare stocks, to see if there's any signs that maybe something may be afoot, something may be changing. But other than that, I usually focus a lot of attention on stocks that recently had earnings, such as MSTR, Micron. Micron will be coming up to earnings soon, but MSTR has been moving a lot. Palantir has been moving a lot. Netflix, big movement there too after earnings. So usually the best opportunities are post earnings in my experience. I'm not the person that's going to try to predict what earnings will be,
Sure.
but once you see the results, then usually for a day trader, that makes things pretty simple, that usually get follow through movement throughout the day. So the symbols I've been watching mostly, and this is out of a large list, but are MSTR, Micron, Palantir, Netflix. ANET, Arista, Boeing, symbol BA,
Okay.
Coinbase, and DraftKings. All of those, on most days, they have some considerable movement. Yesterday, Palantir had a really nice uptrend early in the session. We were able to crush it on that. So these are the type of moves I look for. So what Palantir did yesterday is precisely what I look for in the mornings. And then once it topped out, I usually give targets as well
Mm-hmm.
to the members, projections from an algorithm I designed to give them an idea of where I think the stock might be able to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that was right on the money. It basically topped out exactly at the upper target, and then we were able to move out and move on. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
phenomenal.
that's awesome. We were actually trading Palantir here on the show yesterday morning. It went right. I actually have it on another chart here. It went right to a resistance area, backed off. That actually provided some short entry. I understand it did go back towards the highs at the end of the day. Look,
Yep.
you had mentioned Netflix in your little rundown there. Got to
Mhm.
ask you about Netflix. This is another one that we've been stalking here. Post earnings, this thing lost its 200 day. It's made
Yep.
multiple attempts to try and recapture it. It cannot do it. Looks like we have another possible recapture attempt here today. What's your overall view on Netflix, and do you have a trade on this right now?
Okay, I do actually have a trade of my own. It's not
Okay.
something for the day trading purposes, but I am bullish on that. Not because I think Netflix is necessarily going to rise dramatically, but I do think where it is right now, it probably will be able to recover some of the losses. So I have some option trades on where I've sold some premium just to try to take advantage of where we are from the lows. So I've sold some put spreads. So far, it's working out. But I basically want to see the stock above 11.15. So if it's
Mhm.
above that price, I'm golden. If it's below that price, well, we'll see how far below. But so far, it's been working out. But it's been back and forth, which is usual for what I usually do for myself. But for the members in the funder program, or the T3 program, I should say, we we've been looking at Netflix a lot, and I always tell people, like, it's a very expensive stock, so you got to be careful with your leverage. You got to be careful with the option sizes, because a lot of times people will do like 10 options on Netflix, and I'll say, well,
Mhm.
if you don't have the risk tolerance for that, maybe you should back off on that one. But but it generally has had some really nice strong moves. And I also can point out that typically, not always, but typically when Netflix has a bad earnings result and the stock drops, usually sometime thereafter you get a recovery.
Mhm.
That's been a consistent pattern for them. I remember it was a few years back where they lost a huge percentage of their value. It was like a third, it's like two-thirds or something of their value. And it took a while for that one, but it eventually turned around. It was when they said they were expecting 8 million more users to come onto the platform, and they got like 2 million. So it was way under their expectations. I remember that trade. But
I think that was back in April of 2022,
yeah,
actually. It was
yeah.
back in early 2022. I do remember that. And you are absolutely right. Here's a graphical representation of how good of an opportunity that actually was to
Yeah.
buy that. So, okay.
Yeah, we were. I remember specifically. That was of course before Funder was really solidified, because we were in late 2022. But I remember when that happened, the first go around, I wasn't sure, but after the second drop, I was like, yeah, that price looks too low. So once it was under like $200 a share, that's where I started looking for
Yep.
buying opportunities. I did talk to a number of people that I knew that were major fund managers that I was familiar with, and they just told me, like, yeah, they see the same thing. So, and it was something similar. Meta had a similar situation. It was down like 75% in 2022, and then eventually it had that big buying opportunity. So yeah, that time frame honestly was one of the best opportunities I've ever seen as far as buying opportunities. So if you missed all the 2020 and 2021 craziness, you had a second chance towards the
Yeah.
end of 2022 to get back in it, and then
No,
some. Yeah.
you're absolutely right about that. We always tell people around here there will always be another opportunity. So missing things is not something to get worried about. Folks, join Mike Patton for his free webinar today at 8 p.m. Eastern to learn how everyday traders are qualifying for fully funded stock and options accounts in as little as 12 days. One of the other stocks that you mentioned there, it's near and dear to this audience's heart. We like Bitcoin. We trade Bitcoin. We hodl Bitcoin. We yell about Bitcoin. We do everything as it comes to Bitcoin and some of the altcoins, as well as the stocks that are attached to it. You brought up MicroStrategy here. There were a number. First of all, I'd love to just get your overall thought here on MicroStrategy, but we did get one question here. What does he think about MicroStrategy in the future? Pretty broad, so I'll let you take that any direction you want.
Okay, that is pretty broad, but actually I like broad questions. So I'll just say this. I've never considered myself to be a crypto expert, but one thing I do know about crypto and crypto related stocks is that if crypto is doing well, they do well. If crypto is doing poorly, they do poorly. It makes them great for technical based trading because the reality is, from my observation, the majority of the things that I see on a day to day basis in crypto, or maybe on a month to month or quarter to quarter, it seems mostly technically driven. But you will have some major points like, okay, some bill is going to pass in Congress that, or some executive order that's going to benefit the crypto space. So I won't deny that. Those are the big catalysts, but the day to day seems to be mostly technical, which is great if you are a chart focused person, makes things a lot easier. But you do need to keep an eye on the headlines, of course, too. So for MSTR, the only thing I can really say that I expect is that this will continue to be a day trader's ideal stock to keep an eye on. And also, if you're an options trader, premiums on MSTR options are high. They're usually always high. And one of the things I always look for basically is if you're going to sell premium, especially on a very short term basis, such as intraday, what I would look for is any stock that has a very high ratio of theta versus delta. And what I mean by that, if you look at the more out of the money option strikes, not too far out, but just farther out, maybe a 20 delta or something farther out than that. A lot of times when you look at MSTR options, it looks like there's zero DTE. They have such a high theta, they have such a high time decay. And that makes it much easier to trade them because if you can hedge off your deltas, you can basically take advantage of the theta. And there are a number of traders that work with us that actually do this. And they're only certain symbols, and they almost always are crypto symbols. So I think MSTR could see another major rebound. I wouldn't doubt it because, again, if you look at what what Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies have done, companies that are related to them usually have similar behavior. So if you think that crypto or in general is going to go up in the future, then I would say you should be bullish on that. As far as where it should bottom out, I would base it purely on technicals. I think that's the easiest way to figure it out in this space. So I would just keep an eye on the charts. I see the chart you have up right now. I would just keep an eye on the charts, look for signs of a recovery bounce. I would not be biased short, however, not at this point. If you're doing it intraday, that's one thing. But if you're looking at it from a longer term, I definitely would not be biased short because, yes, it could go down, but your upside potential is way, way bigger. And I think that direction has a lot more commitment than people deciding, hey, let me just sell this stock.
Okay. And then really quickly, that's great stuff there on MicroStrategy. Really quickly, just to cover this is another question here from the chat. Do you ever use any of those levered ETFs that are specific to an individual name, like MSTU, for example? Well, boy, I have to type in the right ticker there. MSTU, which is the T-Rex 2X levered long ETF. Do you mess with any of these?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
absolutely, excellent. I do. So one of the reasons I do personally is because if you know a little bit about ETF construction, you can actually make some pretty interesting trades when you trade the stock versus its leveraged ETF. There's something called volatility drag. And what ends up happening is the leverage ETF tends to underperform over time its actual underlying. So for example, I usually am trading NVIDIA versus NVDL. And if you look for the right circumstances, you can get some pretty good gains over time. So you don't even have to really trade it that much. You just have to know when to get in. So basically, anytime volatility increases, which we've had tons of this year, that's created lots of opportunities where you'll see a divergence. So, for example, NVIDIA, let's say, will go down, 2%, and
Mhm.
NVDL should go down about double that. But then on the rebound, because they have to rebalance the ETF every single day, at the end of the day, they have
Yep.
to rebalance their holdings of the leverage ETFs. It creates a interesting situation where if you have continual rises in the stock, the leverage ETF will tend to accelerate faster because it's like you're adding and adding and adding more to it, even though you're not doing that yourself. But that's how the actual math works. But when it goes the other way, the leverage ETF tends to fall faster if you have a continual decline. But when the rebound comes, usually the leverage ETF falls behind. So if your timing is good, if you have the right tools, you have the right understanding of how the math works, those can be some pretty good trades. Now, I don't usually teach that, but for people who are more advanced, I usually give them some pointers on that. So yes, I love using those. Intraday, they can be very effective as well because you can use a lot less leverage, or you have a lot less capital, I meant to say, but you essentially have leverage on the trade. So if you're only trading intraday, those can be very good. The only thing I will watch is the liquidity. Not every leverage ETF has a lot of liquidity. So some of them, bid-ask spreads are pretty wide. So you're going to give up quite a bit just to be in the trade. But if they're more liquid, like NVDL or something like that, those are pretty good.
Okay. That was an awesome answer. Mike, you're going to fit in perfect around here. This is absolutely phenomenal. Folks, join Mike Patton for his free webinar today at 8 p.m. Eastern to learn how everyday traders are qualifying for fully funded stock and options account in as little as 12 trading days. Mike, it was a pleasure to meet you and have you on here today. Look forward to bringing you back and get some more updates on some of the stuff that we're trading here. All right.
Absolutely. My pleasure as well.
All right. Take care of yourself. Go Birds. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
That is Mike Patton from T3. Love the T3 program. Love the T3 traders. Love that we're getting more and more of them on here. Really phenomenal stuff. Ryan, appreciate the interaction there. Really good stuff. We will continue to follow up on MicroStrategy and all of these other stocks. I love that he likes to trade the levered ETFs. I'll probably have more and more questions about that as we go. All right. His departure, as awesome as that was, his departure leaves room for 13. We continue to upgrade around these parts. Let's go ahead and bring 13 on. 13, hello, good morning. How you doing, boss?
Doing just fine.
Okay. Look, just to be clear here, when I went to sleep yesterday, I didn't know who the T3 guest was. And when I woke up this morning, I found out that he was an Eagles fan. It was not intentional at all.
That's
it
okay.
Happened to be random.
I'm already wearing black for morning my season, so I'm all good.
Season.
It's you have your victory Mondays. I had a lose day Tuesday. Whatever, it's fine.
Oh my God, lose day Tuesday. Okay, I didn't see any of that coming. I don't think your season's over. We still got half of it to play, but nonetheless, we got another kind of a. Hopefully, I guess I should say, a big day coming up here. We do have a couple of movers. You want to start with those?
Let's go.
All right, let's start with the movers here. I'm going to click over to my movers workspace and I'm going to start. Oop, there's a new one here on the top. This one was not on the top of my list earlier here. We're going to break this down here together. QNRX, Quion Pharmaceuticals. The stock is popping here. Looks like we went up towards 16. Could not quite get there. It announces it achieves a target loading concentration for its two topical rapamycin delivery techniques. Okay, so and this is fresh, right? This happened. Yeah, this happened. Yep, this happened after the show started. So okay, getting some news there about one of its rapamycin delivery technology. Stock is trading higher by just about 50%. Interesting to note here, we do have 14.26% of the float shorted, and this is not just a calculation thing. This is the raw short interest went up by what looks like 40 times from the previous read. So it looks like some new fresh short interest there. 1 day to cover, so does not have a high days to cover here. On average, stock trades 307,000 shares a day. Today we traded 4.47 million, excuse me. I have a float reading here of 561,000. So 13, what do you think here? Ticker QNRX.
This is over the the concentration of their active ingredients, my understanding, in their topical formula and their patch. So they've achieved 4% and 5% drug concentrations, which was a milestone for them, apparently. That aside, this company did just have earnings last week, and they have an offering on the table now. So I think I'd be very, very careful with this one if we're going to trade it at all. They already had the low float of 561,000 shares, as you pointed out. So they don't need a reverse split or anything. But if they do need some cash, they have some right now. But I don't think they have enough to last much longer. Let me go back to that. So they've got 1.6 million in the bank. They've got 6.1 in short-term investments, but they lose over 3 million every quarter. So they're going to have to raise some capital at some point, and that could be as early as today, especially if it's we have this price action take off and go up towards 20. Speaking of the price action, it's trying to get back above VWAP right now. I think this area in the 13 handle, it's like around 1325 to 1350. That area right in there seems to have some pretty significant resistance. It's been resisting the price action, the upside price action all morning in that area. Even with the high prints as high as 1587. If it does manage to get over VWAP again and try to go on a bit of a run, I don't know how high it's going to go, but I have another resistance level at $19 if it does happen to go that high. I just don't know how high it's going to go. I don't know when they're going to do this offering, but I think this could be pretty risky with that on the table.
Okay, so maybe just quick trades here. By the way, I've got VWAP at 1246. The stock is dancing above it slightly. What was yours at?
1318.
So it's pretty much right there. And then one more thing here regarding the float. We're just kind of bench checking this against the float here. So pulling this up, I've got 3 fairly different, actually 4, I guess, if you count the NA. I've got 4 pretty different float figures, but nonetheless, even if you take the biggest one, it is still a low float here. Here's a look 13 of it starting to go. That is right above your VWAP. So it's doing literally exactly what you just talked about.
It's trying to get going here. It's in that area where there's that resistance I just mentioned. If we can get through that, maybe we see it move a little bit better once it gets over 15. But like I said, I don't know how high this is going to go. I have that area in the 13 handle that I just mentioned, and then $19. If it goes beyond that, we can look at some other levels. But that's all I've got here for QNRX.
Okay, perfect. QNRX ready to go. Next on the list here is going to be ENGN, and I can't help it. I almost want to call this Eigen, but I'm not going to. This is NGene. NGene shares are trading higher after the company reported additional phase 2 legend study showing a 63% complete response rate and favorable safety profile for its delta-mongi vorplasmid, which this basically is phase 2 legend study data on bladder cancer treatment. That's what's going on here with this. This went almost as high as 11, couldn't quite print that, backed off, and on its way back down to the 9 EMA, lost my VWAP. We'll see where it is with regard to 13s. A quick peek at the short interest here, negligible. 0.14% of the float shorted, literally less than 60,000 total shares held short here. That is nothing. 1 day to cover. This has a float of almost 41 million. On average, it trades 266,000 shares. Today, it's traded 17.5 million. 13, I haven't looked at the financials on this. I'm assuming perhaps you have. But what do you have here on ticker ENGN?
So it's moving from phase 2 data that showed a complete response rate of 63% in 62 participants. This is a company that doesn't have any revenue. And absolutely, thank you, Jay, for mentioning that. And good morning. It does have some cash. It's got enough cash on hand for a quarter, but it has a lot more in short-term investments. So they have to convert that. But they do lose over 25 million at least a quarter. That's been the case for the past 3 quarters. So this is a cash burning company. 40.8 million shares in the float. This is also trying to get above its VWAP. I have my VWAP at 955. You might have a different one, but it is trying to recapture that level. We did get as high as 1092. It does look to me like $10, maybe a little bit above $10 is a bit of a resistance area, maybe as high as like 1030. Once we get past that, then we can explore other levels. I don't have other levels for this one. I didn't mark any off because this, interestingly, was one of the last ones I looked at. But that's the first thing that needs to happen: recapturing VWAP.
And I have my VWAP at 945, very, very close to yours. It literally started to move up towards that right as you were talking here. So we'll see. I'm with you on the first step here, needing to be a recapture of VWAP. Sure looks like we've got wicks up towards that VWAP that we've been unable to recapture.
We're about to get like 965 is the high that we've had since November of last year. So going higher than 965 means that we're looking at pretty much 1 year prints. And if we go much higher, there's resistance at 11. It looks like. But anyway, that's what I've got for ENGN.
Okay, really good stuff there. Jay Rice having a question here for the group: is Beyond Meat going to 31 today? I'm going to put my vote in the no column there, Jay, but we'll see how it shakes out here. Good morning. And I would amplify what you had said there. Thank you again to all veterans out there, past and current, for your service. Okay, next one here is going to be CYCU. This is Cycurion. I think the news desk here did an exclusive story on this yesterday. Indeed, 15 minutes prior to the market open here, we had an exclusive story that the development spans 1,300 sites across all states and U.S. territories with a potential value exceeding $1 million. The major telecom provider to modernize emergency warning network for a leading government agency. We got this yesterday morning. If we go back to the actual chart here, you can see we did pop a little bit on the news. The stock was fairly quiet, but this morning we are getting a substantial volume pop. Now, that volume did pop the price. The volume has since compressed and the price has come back in. We are trying to hold the high area where the after-hour session closed yesterday. So perhaps this $3 area might represent some support. Realistically, I've got my VWAP here at 403. So if we do put in support or a near-term bottom here, a potential move back towards the VWAP would actually make for a decent trade, but we're going to need volume in order to do that without a doubt. Quick look at the short interest on this one. 11.45% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Float on this, I have it 2.5 million. On average, the stock trades just under 1 million shares. Today, we've traded just over 13 million shares. 13, do you have any thoughts here on CYCU?
Chart doesn't look too great, but it does look like it's trying to turn around. Company is going to need some capital at some point soon. Okay. So I don't know if they're going to do an offering or what have you, but they're going to have to raise it somehow. So be careful on that front. Looks to me like, let's see, we're at 314. It looks to me like 295 could be a support area. That's just what it looks like on a 5-minute chart. But other than that, looks like 295 support, $4 resistance. That's pretty much what I would kind of go with right now. I don't have a whole lot to add to this one. I didn't cover it.
It's okay. Looks like we also had a recent reverse here. We had a 1-for-30 reverse split. This was on October 27th. Thank you, Micah. So it looks like this has recently reverse split. We'll see if we get a trade here on CYCU. Really, this is going to need some more volume to flow in here. Yeah.
Next step would be raising cash. I mean, they're going through the motions as if they've got some kind of NASDAQ or compliance. I mean, is this NASDAQ? So I don't know what the story is here with this one. Didn't really, like I said, didn't cover it, but they are going, okay, you know what? Here we go. Found it. They announced reverse stock split effective October 27th for purpose of remaining NASDAQ compliant. So they did get NASDAQ compliance notice. They are going through the motions for a reverse split. They are going to have to raise capital, and I think they'll go with an offering. So be careful with CYCU.
Yep, and what we just learned is 13 doesn't need time to prepare. He can do it on the fly. He's that good.
Oh, stop pumping me up.
Really good stuff there. All right, next here, the next couple of really smaller stocks that we're going to go through seemingly all had earnings catalysts. The first one is a popular one amongst this group. This is BBAI. Big Bear AI. Shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q3 financial results and announced the acquisition of Ask Sage, which is an AI platform. So that's what's driving BBAI higher here. If we take a look yesterday, I know, excuse me, I know we were higher in the pre-market. We're really kind of sold off to the same area that we took a break on Friday. And then we just kind of traded sideways, popped in the after hours on the earnings and the announcement here, and then a little bit more follow through here today. So when the pre-market opened, we actually traded through 7. We've come back down and lost that, and we've been battling with the VWAP. So first key level here, first thing that we need to take a look at, can we get above that VWAP there? I have that value at 676 on my chart here. Price is currently 675. So we are right there. We'll see if we have the strength to get through it. Quick look at the short interest here. 17.68% of the float shorted, and that comes on 1 day to cover. The one thing that you will note here is that while the short interest has changed recently, it really hasn't made a noticeable change. It's kind of jostled anywhere between 75, 72, 78, 79, and 76 million. So it still looks like the big conviction short position still exists in this name, although there is 1 day to cover on the average volume that it sees. That 100-day average volume, 110 million shares. We've only done 8.4 here today. The float on this one, unlike a lot of the other stocks that we're going to take a look at from these junk movers, if you will, the stock much higher float, 435 million shares in the float. 13, we take a look at BBAI often. We've traded this a handful of times. What do you think today?
Well, I think $7 is going to be your next resistance area, and then $7.20. Those two really stand out if we're going to see some more upside. And as a matter of fact, if you look at what happened in the pre-market here, we did try to get over $7, and both times we were rejected. So I think $7 is going to be the big resistance area to get over. Company, does have cash on hand, but they burned through a lot of it last quarter. They do burn through quite a bit of cash. So I don't know if they're going to need to raise capital, today. It seems like they've got a lot on hand, but I'd just be concerned about, how much they're burning through. So I don't know what their cash runway is like. I'd have to, dig into this some more because they just reported earnings. I'd have to look at that and get a better idea. But for now, I would just give you some levels, 720. That's the big resistance area this has to get over. If it goes beyond that, we can take a look at it again and identify some other levels.
Okay. Perfect. Really good stuff there. BBAI. Next one here that I have on the list is BODI. This is Beachbody. Stock here reported earnings. It's moving on earnings. It's up 19.72% here. The Beachbody Company, Class A common stock EPS of 51 cent beat the 46-cent loss estimate. Big beat there. God, I ran out of voice. I know I ran out of voice like Gus Johnson over here. That was crazy. You see that call he made in the Indiana game? Boy, was crying. Sales 59.88 million. That did beat the estimate of 55.16 million. Not the greatest pre-market chart here. Sure looks like we've got some resistance above us here, anywhere between $7 and $8. We're sitting right here at 6. Quick look at the short interest on this, 5.56% of the float shorted with 13.24 days to cover. Now, don't get excited because that 13 days to cover comes on a very paltry average volume of 21,500 shares. Today, we've traded 8 million. That will be completely negligible. Float on this one is 3.51 million. 13, I've got some curious sounds going on in the other room, so I'm going to drop for a sec here and let you go off.
Okay. Well, it's great that we finally get to look at a company that's actually got revenue. This one also has some cash in the bank, 25 million, pulls in over 60 every quarter. Although that's been on the decline to the point now where they are, they're not making more than 70 million like they used to. They lose about 5-6 million a quarter. That's down from last year, which was much more. As far as the chart goes, we are breaking out of the 65 EMA right now, making our way up to VWAP. Looks like in the after hours and the pre-market here, we've got $8 as a big resistance area. We tested it and backed off in the after hours. And in the pre-market here, we went up to the exact same level, also backed off of $8. We're trying to curl back up and recapture VWAP, which I currently have at 646. If we can recapture and hold above that, we can look and see if we're going to get another test of that $8 level. But go ahead and put a horizontal line out at 8. That's going to be our upside target where resistance has been.
Okay, perfect. Really good stuff there. I'll probably have to re-add that horizontal line at 8 when we get to the main workspace, but we'll add it here. Good stuff there. BODI. Next on my list here, I've got KLTR, not PLTR, KLTR. This is Kaltura. They also reported earnings. The stock's $1.74 here. Looks like it came from about $1.50 yesterday. We take a look at this here. Kaltura Q3 adjusted EPS of 1 cent beat the 1 cent loss estimate. Sales here of 43.866 beat the 43.248 estimate. So it was a double beat here, very small on this particular beat. We take a look here at the short interest on this name. We've got 1.09% of the float shorted with 3.7 days to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 280,000 shares. Today we've traded 13.2 million. Float on this is 107 million. So it actually is a little bit thicker than some of these really small dollar stocks that we end up trading. Any thoughts here on Kaltura? Is this one that you covered?
No, it's not. We've already gone through the ones I've covered. This is moving. This actually, looks like a pretty decent company, but that's just at first glance. They just had their earnings yesterday. They repurchased 14.4 million shares from Goldman Sachs, so they do have some kind of repurchase program. Looks like they balance sheet doesn't look too bad. Looks okay. Income, they've got some revenue. It's pretty much about $45 million a quarter, but still not quite profitable. Close, but not quite. As far as the chart goes, we are getting some support from the 200 EMA on the 5-minute, and it's been sideways for about an hour now, and we just need to see what we're going to get out of the open. I don't know what we're going to get out of the open. It kind of looks like we could go lower, but I'm just not getting a whole lot of movement right now, so I couldn't really tell you what it's going to do. I would just wait and see what we get. We just don't want to see a loss of that 200 EMA. We want to see a recapture of the 65.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, first of all, good stuff there. Do you have any others on your list that you did cover that maybe we should take a look at?
Oh, there was only one that I looked at that was, but it's going to be a takeover. That was SRDX, so nothing there.
Okay, so nothing to trade there. It's a takeover. At least that helps set the stage. Okay, Xena here. This is a drone play. This popped. It looks like it's coming back in a little bit. They had earnings here today, right? Correction. Yeah, EPS of a 25-cent loss, sales 3.15 million. Just to kind of get, put in perspective here, the last quarterly report that we got from Ondas, they had sales of about 25 million. So considerably more than this stock here, Xena. Xena reports record 1,225% year-over-year revenue growth. That's why I gave you the raw revenue figure first so that you could make sense of that number. In Q3 2025 and 6x growth for the first 9 months of the year as drone as a service business expansion accelerates. Nothing new here, in my opinion. We covered the news about the United States buying, I think, like 1 million drones or something like that. We've been all over the drone theme. Doesn't look like there's anything new here. Xena plus almost 10% on the back of its earnings within that theme. There were some other bigger stocks that I wanted to take a look at here. PDK, good morning. Yeah,
I was going to just add a little bit to Xena
Go
real
ahead.
quick. So
please.
we are trying to turn around and hold above the 200-day SMA. It looks to me like the big resistance area to watch for the next big one is going to be at 475. That's where you have the 20-day SMA. That's where it was the price was trying to get above in March, but it was rejected. We also have a triple top here that we have experienced since the summer through October. Yep. And that's the reason why we got so much downside. Now, hopefully that's all the downside we're going to get. And I think the recapture of the 20-day SMA is kind of telling us that. So as long as we hold above the 20-day SMA, we should start to see some recovery. So if that's the case, 475 is the resistance area I'd be looking at.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at some other stocks that reported earnings here. Several of you folks are mentioning them in the chat. We are first going to start with this, though. Anne-Marie, good morning. It's great to see you. We will have Anne-Marie on, by the way, to set up some option trades here today. Anne-Marie saying the pre-market indices price action is, quote, hot garbage, end quote. And that means sideways and sloppy. So, Okay.
Waiting for me to comment on that.
Yeah, good. Well, I don't know if we need a follow-up comment on
All right.
that, to be quite honest with you, but good stuff there, Emery. We are going to take a quick look at that. I did very quickly want to mention Turb here because PD Kate had mentioned that. This is one of the movers, and it's one of the movers that's not showing us great stuff. Nice little pop here on Turb up towards what, almost 450. Didn't quite get there. We've basically round tripped this entire move, and we've done it on some pretty good selling volume. We did have news here, though. Turbo Energy, Taurus, and Stellar joined forces to tap in to $74.43 billion energy as a service market through tokenization of hybrid renewable energy products. Okay. I am struggling to think of a headline that I have read recently that says less with more words than this one. This is nothing but buzzwords here. There's really nothing great here. If I expand the story a little bit, the project comes as the global energy as a service market was valued at $74.43 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach $145.18 billion in 2030, representing a 12.3% CAGR, according to the Grand View Research. So they're basically riding the coattails, or at least this PR here is about riding the coattails of the energy as a service market expanding. Cool story, bro. I don't know how much actual news is here for Turb, and taking a look at the trading action that we had here today, it looks like the market sniffed this one out too. So nice little pop there on the buzzword PR. It's come back down. Doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be a trade or something like that. But again, know what you own. Also, some breaking news here. All right. This show does break some news, and we've got some more. We have discovered a true identity. Lion Atlas is actually Peter Schiff. We didn't know this entire time. We have been fooled. So, Lion, you've been caught. The mask has been pulled off. Peter Schiff is amongst us in the form of Lion Atlas. Okay. We're having fun here. That's what we always do. LOL.
Yeah,
now
Turb,
let's go ahead.
Turb, real quick, just some downside levels if you feel compelled to trade this. 250 and 225. Those are the only two support that I see. This thing looks like it's going to continue to go lower. This looks like a big old Turb.
That's really good, 13. That's really awesome and good. Okay, let's go back and take a look at some other stocks that y'all folks want to take a look at. I'm going to go to the big chart tool here, and we're actually going to start with NBIS, which is reporting earnings here this morning, or did report earnings here this morning. I saw someone throw this in the chat here. NBIS has been another big trader for us. Here we go. Nebius Group shares are trading higher after the company reported Q3 results above estimates and announced a $3 billion 5-year AI infrastructure agreement with Meta. All right, so we did not get our open AI PR here today, but we did get a deal with Nebius and Meta. The price action here, curious to see what you folks think about this. This was a sell-off that immediately got bought. We've tried to go higher a couple of times, but we're only holding higher here by about 2.7%. So Nebius here still in a 112 handle. We'll see if we end up getting a trade. That's what the news is going with here, though. $3 billion 5-year AI infrastructure agreement with Meta. Quick reminder here on the short interest on this name, 10.55% of the float shorted with days to cover of 1.26. Floats 200 million. 13. You think anything here about Nebius?
I'm looking at the chart. It looks like it's trying to reverse right now. It just went down, and there's this area like that it just reversed at, which is got the 200 EMA, the 65 EMA, and the VWAP all right there in the same spot. And we just reversed there. We're trying to climb back up higher. Now I don't know how high this is going to go. There's resistance. Gosh, there's like resistance at almost every dollar level here. So 114, 115. All the way up to 118.53. It seems like every dollar there's going to be a resistance level. And if you look to the left at the price action from yesterday in the pre-market, you get a little bit of supply zones that you can mark off. So that's one of the big ones starts at 115.25. So keep an eye on that one if we do end up going higher. It just looks like we tried to reverse and are trying to go higher, but still have all those resistance levels to get through. As far as the news goes, the company isn't profitable, I thought. Let me look here. Or maybe it is. Maybe as of their most recent earnings they are, but it looked like they were losing money. So that's good news, and it's great news for the company to get an infrastructure deal with Meta, because they're going to need it. But that I think I'm not going to go too deep into the fundamentals. I think this is just going to be something that we keep an eye on the technicals for. And right now, 114 looks like the next level we have to get over.
Okay, really good stuff there. NBIS. Lion says, we think alike, except he's a billionaire and I'm only a millionaire. Okay, well, it could be a lot worse than that. That's for sure. And then Lion, all jokes aside here, as a reminder, with it being Veterans Day, yes, the market is open. The bond market and banks are closed, but we also may have a little bit lower volume here today. So don't necessarily just count on seeing volume that you think should be there. Let's actually maybe wait and see if we get that. Okay, did you want to talk any, I'm not even going to ask. I just want to bring up CoreWeave here real quick. Okay. This has been, I know Ari, I'm going to mess up this name if I don't look it up here. It was Tenzin mentioning CoreWeave here earlier this morning. CoreWeave is actually down by about 7.2% here on the back of its earnings report yesterday. What's notable here is that it is up off of the lows, so we'll see if the buy the dippers end up winning this here. The options implied a 12.5% move, and we've got so far 7%. All right, go ahead.
$100 was a very big support level for it, and it just lost it off the earnings. So now I'm going to be looking at 100 as resistance. And we're making our way up towards it, but I feel like we're going to have some trouble getting through it, or even seeing many closes above it. I think this 100 area could be a rejection site.
Okay. All right. So we'll see what we get here on CoreWeave. Here's what I'm going to be looking at on CoreWeave. We're going to do the same kind of opening range here. I know David has a more fully fleshed out opening range breakout system, but what I'm basically going to do here is I'm going to look for this area right in here. I'm going to maybe ignore this extreme low here. Here we go. I've got 92.5 to 94, 94.5 to 98.5. This range here, whichever way we break out here on CoreWeave, will hopefully get a back test of that area, and that could set up for entry for a short-term trade in either direction here. So these are the two key levels that I'm going to be looking at. I completely agree with you, 100 is going to absolutely act as resistance today. Not to say we can't get through it, but that should absolutely act as resistance today. So we'll see what happens there with CoreWeave. But that's what's going on. Oh, you know what? I did really quickly want to read you the numbers here from the earnings report. We did get a slew of re-ratings here. So price target was raised at Morgan Stanley from 91 to 99, but lowered at Bank of America, Evercore, looks like Metellus. I think there was one more in here.
Sorry to interrupt you. NBIS went through 114. We're hitting 115 right now. This is on the recovery. Pre-market high, still 118.53, but we are making our way up there. We're trying to go through 115 right now.
And GB Slice here is saying, CoreWeave, it looks like the insiders dumped massive amounts right before earnings. Well, that's true. But if you take a look at the insiders tab, it's all insider selling going all the way back to August. So not necessarily a new thing here. Recently, we did have the CEO and president, Michael Intrader, I think is actually how you pronounce his name. He sold 9.4 million shares at $113. He's got no owned shares left.
Where his confidence at?
Yeah, so you take that for whatever grain of salt that you want to take that as. CoreWeave, that's what's going on here this morning. Maybe we'll ask Anne-Marie, with earnings out of the way here, maybe we'll ask Anne-Marie to set a trade up on this one. We shall see. Okay, what's next here? Izzy's got a request here. 13, would you please cover NRGV?
Yeah, I was looking at that one where you were talking. This Perfect. One is coming up to, so I'm looking at a 5-minute chart, but I have like multiple days in my view going back to October. And this is coming up to an area like around 420. I don't know if that was planned or not, but good job. We'll see wisdom pretty soon. 420 looks to be the resistance area. If you look at the price action from October 14th through 16th. We found that 420 area as resistance, broke through it in the after hours, and then the next day we were up higher above it, using it as support, and then the following day we tested as resistance and fell through it. So now that we're back up here, 420 is going to be the next big resistance area for NRGV. If it still climbs higher, you have 440 next, and then the highs of that those a couple of days, which was about 456. That would be the next upside resistance I would see we have to get through. And there's probably some more we could look at after that, but let's see what happens with those levels I gave already.
Okay, and the market is getting set to open right about now.
Now.
I was the second light. Good call. Good call.
And I was probably delayed.
Good call.
Okay, so out of the gates, we are doing what? Let me go back to a different chart here.
Rigetti looks like that is holding lower. BBAI looks like that came in just a little bit off the open. Came into VWAP here on BBAI.
QNRX.
Penny stock getting mentioned by Crow. Sorry, 13.
No problem. QNRX pushing through VWAP, trying to get up to 1450, where it's been getting rejected all morning. There's a bit of a trend line you could draw there on QNRX if you want.
Yep, I definitely will do that.
Let's see, ENGN. This is trying to get going as well. I think it needs more volume than this, but it's starting to get going here. It looks like 925 is the next resistance area for this one, if not including VWAP, if it's slightly above it for you. BODI, that's going lower to the 200 EMA.
Oh my God, ENGN. I tried to pull this up to take a look. That popped right through 9 there. I've got 940 as the VWAP. Actually came back in pretty good there. 938 in my broker. So another 40 cents here of VWAP. This is still figuring out which direction it wants to go.
Yeah, and there's
a pull. Yep.
And you still got some resistance that I was just mentioning from all that sideways price action in the pre-market. So it's like 929.50 area.
I'll tell you what, if this thing holds 850, which is kind of where it held in the pre-market, another attempt to move back to the VWAP possible here. We'll see if we end up getting that. ENGN, this is a little bit spread, a little bit wild here right on the open. If you're looking for something maybe a little bit more conservative or not as risky here today, I might wait this one out a little bit. Nice little pop above 9. Remember, we pulled right when we went to 910 before. So there we go, ENGN.
Yeah, and there is a seller in the way at 910. So if we get through him, the 925, 920, 925, it can be the next area where there's some sellers at. QNRX.
Grab power move out of the gate here. Sorry, QNRX. Let me go back to that 13.
And I'll go to grab and take a look at that.
ENGN making a move now.
All right. Sellers keep trying to push it down. At 1925 area, still rough. I keep saying 19. It's 925.
Here's your QNRX chart.
What a dump
Apple's
on NBIS.
Moving.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to that. Let me go to that. I'm sure we have a lot of morning moves here. Here's NBIS. That's pulling down to the pre-market low area. Apple and PayPal and Palantir straight up out of the gate. Boy, let's see if we get that same resistance at 195 on Palantir that we got yesterday. That actually gave us a decent trade.
CoreWeave couldn't even get very far above 98 before that started going lower. Still looking at 100 as a big resistance area, but it looks like 98 is also giving the upside price action trouble.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to do 90. This is what we talked about before, 98 and a half. What do I got on the downside here? Now, I'm just going to do 94. I am actually going to include that. We'll see which way CoreWeave breaks here. Lion, I'd asked you earlier which one you're trading. You said you were going to look to short OKLO, and it looks like you bought a put here.
And welcome, Jimmy, to the Zinger
Welcome,
Nation.
Jimmy. Welcome, Jimmy. Jimmy.
All right, looks like we're getting a little recovery in BODI after testing the 200 EMA.
Okay, 13, I'm going to leave BODI on the screen for just 1 sec. I'll be right back. 1 sec.
All right, well, I'm also watching QNRX to see if it can recapture VWAP. This has been back and forth between testing the 15 EMA and trying to recapture VWAP. So not quite sure what direction QNRX is going to go yet. momentum looks like it's rolling over to the downside. So we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. It could still get a big old spike of volume and completely nullify that. It looks like about 1425 is where there's been some resistance in the pre-market. So if we do manage to get back above VWAP, that would be an area to watch for there. ENGN still trying to hold above 9. It looks like it has been dipping beneath it from time to time, but still trying to push higher here. Getting continued resistance from that 925 area. And KLTR, did this finally moving a little bit away from the 200 EMA, still having a hard time getting over the 65 EMA where it's been getting rejected since it lost it in the pre-market. Also dealing with VWAP right now as well. And NBIS continues to go lower. NRGV boom. Let's take a look here. NRGV. So this one, okay, pushed through that 420 area and popped all the way up to, looks like 450. And then it came back in. Now, I don't know if you plan on holding that or reloading if it comes back in, but great move on that. There, Izzy.
What are we looking at? Which one?
We were looking at NRGV. That had a nice pop. And it
that was
like
the one he asked you about.
Yep. And blasted through 420.
Huh. Okay. How about that?
As one does. KLTR. This one we were just talking about. This still trying to get above that 65 EMA. Currently trading above it right now, but man, does it have a lot of sellers in the way. Some starting at 185, lots of sellers in the way at 195 and $2.
Okay, that did look like it's trying to curl, but good stuff there on the sellers. Look at Palantir, folks. Nice little move. Man, we are right. This range, I'll tell you what, we are still in this range here. Looks like we tried to make a move up towards that 194, 195 area, turned around. We'll be a little patient on that. No reason to force a trade early here. Let's check in on CoreWeave. Okay, so we broke out of the bottom of our channel here on CoreWeave. Ideally, we'd like to back test 94, but not get above it. And that could be a possible short entry there on CoreWeave. Bharat's not even waiting. Added more to short on CoreWeave. Amanda's on the other side of that. Amanda says, I'm going to flex my muscle. I'm a buyer of CoreWeave right here.
One thing with Palantir here, this has a gap fill. If you look at a 5-minute chart or a smaller time frame, just don't look at a daily or higher. You can see that since the close of yesterday's after hours and the open of today's pre-market, there's been a gap down. And it looks like the price is attempting to get into that and fill that gap. That's the price action we just had with the last candle. We pushed through some of this sideways price action we got this morning, tried to get into that gap, was rejected. So there's a potential gap fill that happened here with Palantir that'll take it up to almost about 194.25 if it fills. But it is attempting, it is trying to get into this gap. So that's the resistance area until it actually manages to get in there.
Okay, VIX here looks like this is down a little bit from the pre-market level, 1763. We talked about VIX maybe bouncing if it gets to 15. All right, Bharat, all out CoreWeave, great 4-minute trade. Bharat loves his open there. So you were short, so you were buying to cover your short. Amanda was also buying, so you weren't selling shares to each other. So that's cool. But good trade there, Bharat. We'll start off with a register ring here today. Let's go.
This is a mover from yesterday, but SOC is going through a big move right now. It's not on very big volume, but it just ran up 20 cents out of nowhere.
BBAI just recaptured its VWAP. That's one we might want to keep an eye on. Here's SOC 13.
ASTS is getting mentioned by Izzy.
And how much volume was that on?
Not that.
Yeah, it wasn't on a whole lot there. Okay, yeah, ASTS. This reported earnings yesterday? Question mark?
Yes.
All right. So lower we went initially, and then we're going higher here now. Where do we stop at? This is basically yesterday's open. Yeah. So 71.5. The power move out of the gate here today basically took us to yesterday's open. We didn't have the strength to move higher. Meanwhile, BBAI is trying to push away from its VWAP to the upside.
ASTS $72 is a resistance level. That's been the case pretty much all month so far.
Especially the case yesterday, 13.
Right. Yeah. We lost the level on Monday, the 3rd. I think that was the first trading day of November. So we lost that level, and we've been attempting to get back above it ever since. $72 resistance.
Okay. Lion, you had mentioned earlier when I was asking you that you had shorted OKLO here. So Oklo short. The interesting first move here was up a little bit. That basically took us right to where the after hours session traded sideways and closed. We were rejected, and now we move lower. Lion, what kind of target do you have on your Oklo short? It looks like you're also short the AI basket there of CoreWeave and NBIS. Okay.
KLTR is trying to push higher, but this is one that has a lot of sellers in the way. So you might see a lot of resistance from here into the low twos.
Okay, and Palantir, Bharat saying Palantir has some sideways action. It looks like it wants to break down. Bharat, I'm going to stick with the exact same levels that we looked at yesterday for that successful trade. 194.25, let's call it 194 to 195, the upside level down there are there, and then 190 looks to be that downside level. We'll see if we end up breaking out of here in either direction. Really quickly, ASST, this is also on the scanner being traded with high volume. Looks like this is rolling over here. MSPR is the penny stock that the traders had been mentioning here this morning. This is breaking the pre-market highs here. And BBAI, we talked about this one, trying to push away from its VWAP. Looks like it recaptured it and then pulled beneath it again. So BBAI now beneath the VWAP. CYCU, this is one that we did an exclusive on yesterday. This is still curling, perhaps making a move back towards its VWAP there at 395. That's 50 cents away from where we're at here. So that actually might be decent if that keeps going.
Crow mentioning that QNRX is going to go. It certainly looks like it's trying to get above 14 right now. A little bit of a seller in a way. We take that out. We could see some pretty good upside, maybe up to the 14.75.
Okay, here's your QNRX chart. We'll see if this breaks the trend line. That's the big thing I'm watching here. Amanda says I'm selling 100 puts on Oklo. Amanda, the 100 puts. You're not selling 100 contracts, right? I fully expect them to be in the money tomorrow. I guess I should have just kept reading. I fully expect them to be in the money tomorrow, but I think they'll be able to roll them for cheap, or I'll sell those juicy calls. I'm happy to own it here. Lion, thank you. Your Oklo 100 put expires November 21st. Okay, so you're doing this month. That's going to be what, a 2-week trade? 2-week time horizon. Apple at the highs. Netflix at the highs, 11.29. Netflix recapturing that 200-day moving average. We'll see if we get a close above that. Bharat mentioning that NVIDIA is breaking down.
Yeah,
what's
like
happening
a lot of these
here?
semis. Yeah. Rigetti also breaking down. I haven't looked at Rigetti directly yet. Just kind of looking at the RGTZ. This looks like it.
Go ahead. Let me just finish up here with NVIDIA. I did want to reiterate, remember, we saw SoftBank liquidate their entire NVIDIA position overnight. So NVIDIA a little bit more downside. Not terribly surprised by that. 13, I'm sorry for fighting you for the mic.
The $30 level has been support for Rigetti, and we are testing it right now, and it looks like we could end up losing it. If that happens, I think this may, I don't know if we'll see it today, but 28 is going to be the next support area I have if we lose 30.
Okay, so we talked about that one too. We talked about Rigetti too after their earnings report earlier today. Here's what Rigetti looks like. We had talked about really wanting to find what the new load area is here for Rigetti, and we talked about that maybe being the top end of this box, which is here at about $30. 13, with the move lower here, we are almost going for the low end of this range. I have that loosely marked off at about $28 down there. That's RGTI.
So I don't want to dismiss the possibility that this could fill the gap that it created overnight. It's done that before, as evidenced by last week when we had Thursday to Friday create a gap, and then yesterday we filled it. So now we've got a new gap. I don't know if we sell off, test that the bottom of that channel, and then reverse and fill the gap, or if we fill it today at some point. I don't know, but I wouldn't dismiss it. So.
Okay, Rigetti, this is one that is paid quite a bit, so I am sure we will keep an eye on this one. See, what else do we have going on here? SOXS. This got discussed yesterday. SOSX. I got to click on the right stock. This got discussed yesterday as a potential swing as the market really kind of closed on the highs. The hedge play here was in SOXS. It's a little bit of a follow through here today as that's moving higher. And PD Kate is confirming what 13 said earlier, that Turb is indeed a turd. So it's still holding out lower down here.
I was asked to look at CAPR. This is Capricorn Therapeutics.
Okay.
Looks like it's trying to establish a bottom here, or a kind of a base at $6. We do have some prints beneath it, but for a good portion of the year, this has been finding support at $6. I get the sense that this is being held up by the sideways consolidation, this demand zone that occurred from basically 2020 until 2024. This whole sideways area right there. But I don't know what the news is going to be that's going to take this. It's going to turn this thing around. It looks like to me this is if we lose 6, of course we're going to go lower, and this looks like we're going to go lower unless something happens. So. I would need to know more about this company and what they do. I think we've traded this before.
We have,
but this is only to me in my eyes, it's only getting support from the demand zone. I don't know what it's going to need in order to turn it around. Let's take
a quick look at the daily chart here.
Yeah.
It just makes me think that there's probably a breakdown coming prior to a break out and up.
Yeah, they have enough cash in the bank for a quarter, and then they have to go to short-term investments. Which they'll probably have like 4 years of cash runway at their current burn rate. So, like I said, I would need to know more about it. But right now, the chart doesn't look that great to me. It looks like it's trying to get support. It looks like they just had earnings yesterday. Like I said, I'd have to look, get into more of this. But $6 looks like that's a support area.
Okay, QNRX here so far holding that 15 EMA. It has really struggled with the trend line. That to me. Looks like it's going to need to be taken out here. Tuna saying that's got an 85% on his platform there. QNRX looks like it just lost 12 there. We'll see if we get any type of firm here. QNRX. Let's see. ENGN from the movers. That is a sad trombone as that continues to roll over here.
Yep. Next support's going to be down at the 65 EMA. We'll see what happens down there.
Izzy hooked the mover here today. NRGV up near the highs here. Izzy, do you have a target here on where you think the stock could go here today? Volume actually looks good and looks like it's all buying volume here so far.
We are approaching looks like we already got past some of the resistance from October. We are approaching some highs not seen since 2023. And it looks like that might be, let's see, 560 a resistance area. So that's about 90 cents away.
Rocket Lab, this reported earnings. We talked about it, I think. I don't know. Well, we talked about it yesterday for sure. This dipped out of the open here, but right back on. Actually, it never really went red because of the earnings here, but it's basically back to where it was consolidating in the after hours post print yesterday. I have a pre-market high here, 57.25. Maybe if we get above that, that's ticker RKLB.
I'd have to see what they said about their Neutron rocket. If they delayed it, then that could be the reason why this sank initially. But still a great company, and I expect that all sell-offs will get bought with this one because this is going to be a big competitor to SpaceX. Their Falcon 9s, not Starship, but their Falcon 9 rockets will be a competitor.
BBAI really hasn't shown any strength yet here today. Plug Power, on the other hand, this trading to the upside. This actually took out the pre-market high. Looks like 275 was your AH resistance yesterday. How did Plug do yesterday? Man, this thing sold off right out of the open. Didn't do a whole lot. Maybe today will be a little bit different there on Plug. MSPR, nice job, Crow, on the penny stock, 60 to 73. I think Daniel was looking for 80 cents on that one. Apple's still going higher indeed. Let's take a look at Apple. I'm sorry I didn't bring that up when Tenzin mentioned this earlier. Here's Apple, 274 and change, 274.37, your high print here. Apple above yesterday's intraday high here. Apple looking pretty good. Tell you what, this to me looks like a 280 test to the upside coming here. all data center names getting beat down. APLD,
Yeah.
Iron, and Wolf all getting beat down here today.
Izzy, 5 and 550 stand out pretty well.
APLD is what you said, not APDN. Come on, Ryan, get it together. Here's your APDN. Indeed, weak out of the gate. Wolf, let's take a look at that. That's Wolf with a U, by the way. That week out of the gate, still at the lows here. Iron was the other one. They just reported earnings. They had kind of a disappointing move post earnings as well. That also more weakness here today. Wow.
Everything looking weak.
Yeah, a lot of the data center stuff weak here. And again, we saw that part of me wonders if we're going to see some more follow through on that SoftBank liquidating the NVIDIA stake.
Is this the beginning of rotation?
That's exactly what I was asking earlier. This is something that we have been discussing ad nauseum in happy hour. Be great to see if that ends up playing out here. What else did we have on the movers? Grab wasn't necessarily on the movers, although this looks all right here.
So we had QNRX, ENGN, BODI, KLTR, NBIS.
QNRX, big pullback here.
CoreWeave still not able to get back up towards that 100 or even the $98 level. This thing looks like it's going to continue lower.
Looks like we did come back into the channel right to VWAP and got rejected. Now we've broke beneath this. So this is not giving the exact action that I wanted, but I still kind of think that there's lower. A move lower is probably next here in CoreWeave. Anne-Marie says some super interesting stats in the index components relative to the index. Anne-Marie, what are those? I'm looking at the advanced decliners here, positive 457. So we're still hanging on to green there with the advanced decline line.
That SOC continues to slowly climb. It's getting above the consolidation, the cited consolidation from yesterday.
That's SOC, you said?
Yeah. Probably not nothing you can do about grabbing it right now. You'd have to wait for it to come back in. But this thing's had a nice move off the 200 EMA.
Okay.
All right.
Tell you what, I don't see anything great yet here today.
No, it doesn't look like anything's really setting up for us at the moment. Maybe ENGN as it tries to turn around here. We'll see what happens with this one.
ENGN, huh?
Yeah.
ENGN.
It's got to get through this seller at 828, large seller in the way. And there's another one at 853 as well.
The performance weekly from last week confirming the rotation from the Mag 7 to other components. Okay, so we're seeing more of that continued rotation out of some of those Mag 7 names.
It was funny because the Mag 7 was looking pretty good yesterday.
Head fake, maybe. Day trader mentioning one of Tim Melvin's plays here, CRGY, Crescent Energy. Has had a good couple of days, stock up 5% here today. The other one that Tim mentioned here was Pump. Was that one from his momentum list, I want to say?
Pump?
Petro? I can't remember which list that came off of.
Looks like it certainly did, and it looks like it's certainly getting ready to go higher. That daily chart. Big move off the bottom around 450. Took doubled. And now it's consolidating as if it's creating a bull pennant and ready to go higher. Looks like it wants to break over 12 at some point. We just had a golden cross. Looks like today or yesterday. I would just based on the way the chart looks, to me, I think this could go higher beyond 12. And I'm not trying to pump it.
LOL. Joe says, take a look at SBET here. Here's SBET leaking some more, even more than the AI bubble ending. We're seeing the downfall of crypto treasuries. Now, I should probably make a watch list of that and then maybe a heat map. Maybe I'll do that, Joe.
What's the best treasury, or best crypto for treasuries? Like, what's the one that we should? Because I think a lot of these we can probably just write off, but some other ones may stick around and be strong. And
though, just from our discussions here, my knee-jerk reaction to your question wants to say Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana.
Okay.
But I would ask the group there, what am I missing out of that? Those three seem to be the strongest. ETHA, by the way, that thing, another move lower here on ETHA.
Beyond Meat's looking good.
Is it at 31 yet?
No, well, it's at 131. Oh, that couldn't have been better.
Ryan says XRP. Man, I tell you what, XRP has been tough. Yeah, and you know what, day trader, I actually take full blame for this. I have not checked your spreadsheet lately. You know what? Let me actually. This is a really good kick in the pants. Let me go link that for the group here. Should have it handy in my mentions or in my direct messages here. Day trader, you did all of that work, and I didn't promote it enough, I'm afraid. That's my fault. Top 5 coins by DAT are Bitcoin, Sol, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and BNB. Now that BNB one, that's another good mention there. Here we go.
App puts are up 80%. And Smoke Tuner, you're saying that watch for 1080 entry for QNRX.
102 publicly traded digital asset treasury companies. I just linked you Day Trader's spreadsheet here. That's got all of them on here. You know what, Day Trader, now that I'm looking at this, I don't know if it would necessarily make sense. But perhaps we could add a column for year-to-date price change. That might be able at a glance for us to understand how these are doing. I don't know if that's necessarily valuable, so I don't want to necessarily change the purview of what you've done here, but just kind of at a glance, given the discussion that we're having, that might be something to add to this. Nonetheless, thanks for the reminder here. I should have been more. I'm going to actually leave this open so I can consult it if necessary.
SOC continues to climb. It's just very, very slow. Just very, very slow. Looks like NBIS is trying to turn around. Still trading beneath VWAP, but
Okay.
Showing a little bit of some signs of reversal here. RGTZ going down, so we're going up. Wondering if we're starting to get a little bit of that gap fill. Looks
And
like
Day
we are.
Trader and Day Trader, year-to-date change may not be. I'm just thinking of how we can determine what its relative performance is or what its performance recently is. Maybe there's one that makes more sense than year-to-date change, but that seems to me a fairly decent place to start. Kathy, this is the second mention of this. I'm sorry I didn't get to it earlier. Real, ticker REAL, the real. This, Kathy, damn it, I should have gone to this earlier. Impulse move, pullback to VWAP, and then a new high set. Kathy was all over this. Damn, the real shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q3 financial results and issued Q4 sales guidance above estimates. Also, the company raised its full year 25 sales guidance above estimates. So really good report here. Good. This is good across the board. The nice impulse move to pull back to the VWAP that I missed. Now you're getting expanding volume on the tail end of this as we set a new intraday high. Real looking all right here. Good mention, Kath. Here, one up for that one. Sorry, I was too slow on the trigger.
You know, let's see here. Frozen King. So yeah, coin is going up. I think it may be going up on the news. It had news attached to it. But another thing with Coinbase is that because they're an exchange, they're going to rake in fees, especially if people are selling their crypto. Now, I understand that because they hold significant crypto themselves, they're going to feel that effect as well, and it could pull the valuation of their stock down. But I think the reason why we're seeing this run in the face of the other crypto names is because it got news and they're going to be generating fees from crypto selling. Rigetti might be providing a setup.
Okay, so let's take a look. So when you say that, you're saying Rigetti might be producing a setup for the RGTZ trade, as we have been looking for that for a downside move. All right, so here we are popping in Rigetti, $32. Looks like a lot of the tech space PayPal at the highs, Netflix at the highs, Palantir at the highs. I think someone said NBIS was turning around. I don't have that chart up here though. So where are we looking here? What's the entry spot here on Rigetti?
I'm thinking it's going to be gap fill or the 50-day SMA. It's going to be in that area. And it's interestingly, the 50-day SMA is just beneath that top of that range, that sideways range that we talked about. So as soon as it gap fills, I think that would be your indication that it's going to be the time pretty soon. It might go up another $1 to 34, but I think that's going to be the area up in there between 33 and 34 is where we're going to want to. I think there's a potential entry.
Okay,
that's where I'm thinking.
Really quick here, things seem to be turning up. So we took a look at Rigetti turning up, and I had mentioned PayPal, Apple, and Palantir as well. The entire market here, S&P futures trading higher here, trying to flash a red to green move. SPY and Qs also with a nice little bounce candle there. And Bitcoin, same deal. Bitcoin actually dipped down towards 104 on the futures. That bounced a little bit. Ethereum bounced. I actually closed my second ETHA call position. I didn't get much out of that. I think I got 20% on that, but at least that's going to chip away from the losses from my other one, the 40 calls that I have that I'm underwater on. Ondus also popped, indeed. Kodak is getting a mention here from Barry the Great. Barry the Goat. I can't remember which one it is, but either way, you're great.
NBIS is reversing. Recaptured VWAP.
Kodak volume a little bit lower here. Here's your NBIS. That selling volume has turned to buying volume. I've got the VWAP at 109.40. It looks like we're about to test that here.
Yeah, it looks like 110, 111 could be the next resistance, somewhere in there. Core Weave also trying to turn around, but it's not having as much of a success as NBIS is.
And of course, that means Cores is doing the same thing. So CORZ here, a little bit cheaper than CoreWeave. That looks very similar. How happy do you think Emily Wilkinson must be if this government shutdown ends? I feel like they just keep her in a closet, and then whenever they need to talk about what's going on in the political front, they drag her out. This poor woman probably needs some rest and a day off.
Dust her off, plug her in, and have her go.
I mean, she's earned it. Let me tell you something. She's been on top of all of this government shutdown stuff. I see her on at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 p.m. at night. Seems like she's always busy.
SOC through 7. Well, it did go through 7 a moment ago. It's come back in, but it just went through 7 at the some of the highs from the open yesterday.
Good mention here on SOC. This one wasn't on my watch list at all here today.
Just very, very slow mover. It just looked pretty good out of the gate. I wasn't expecting all this, but it just keeps going. It just keeps going.
All right. Anne-Marie giving us a little preview here for her spot coming up in an hour. We're going to talk Micron, ticker MU, finally showing an exhaustion move north, rotation into some support with some great premium to sell. And then Thino Blander says, I eat at Chipotle maybe 3 times a day. Why does the stock keep falling?
ENG just had a big breakout move.
You mean ENGN, right?
Yeah, sorry. ENGN. Yeah, sorry. Big
right
breakout
up to the
move.
VWAP.
And now it's going to halt.
So we're going to halt right at VWAP here. I've got VWAP 920, 922 your price. It is indeed halted. That halt there, 10:02:47 for anyone tracking the halt time.
And it halted right at right near that 925 area where we were getting resistance after we lost that area at about 825 this morning, and been trying to recapture that ever since. We're right there at that level right now. Don't know what to expect out of the halt. It could be selling. It could be more buying. I don't know. But if you were picking this up down here underneath 8, you're doing pretty dang good right now.
Dear heavens, that's too much Chipotle. That's actually my own fault. He meant 3 times a week, not 3 times a day, which is probably good for him long term, both pocketbook and waistline. But he's doing his part. He's doing his part. Sorry for reading that incorrect. It keeps me regular. Oh gosh, that's funny.
Looks like RGTI is turning around as well. How far did that get? because I want to see if we're going to actually get this gap fill in Rigetti. Because if we do get the price action that I'm thinking we might, where we fill the gap, kind of test the 50-day SMA, maybe get near 34, and then we just turn around and start sinking again. Oh, it'd be so good. It'd be so great to see that.
Okay, so you're looking for maybe around 34 would pretty much provide entry to RGTZ then.
I'm looking for a gap fill, test of the 50, and maybe even 34. All in that, that whole package is kind of what I'm looking for.
And guess what else? Your pot leaf signal worked. Wisdom is here. Wisdom, hello. We send you big love back to you and blessings of abundance to your family as well.
That's awesome. I appreciate him coming on and spreading that goodwill.
Market reversing here from Tenzin. So that pop that I talked about in the broader market here, that's being sold. It didn't really move all that much higher. Breath here split. Yep. Russell and Nice positive breath, but the S&P, Dow, and NASDAQ all in the negative already.
CoreWeave rejected. NBIS rejected. Looks like some of these other movers are still okay for the time being. BODI, that's trying to hold over the VWAP. Volume is really low in this one. I'd be careful with BODI. QNRX, this is trying to turn around. Smoke Tune, I think this is about a little bit underneath the area where you're thinking that this was the zone to go long for a trade. Let me know if this is still on your radar to work. It's trying to get some support from the 65 EMA and turn around. So we'll see if we end up getting that here.
Forever 21 Bitcoin, which I think is Barry, says 3 times a week Chipotle is still too much. You should eat more Beyond Meats. Oh, Barry, that does sound like a troll comment, not going to lie.
Can we put some levels on QBTS? Sure, let me see what I can find with that.
CoreWeave here, this actually did backtest the 94 area. Bharat, you out there, you think I know your shorts already wrapped up here for today, but do you think CoreWeave has any more room to the downside here? Part of me wonders if a trade against 94, a short trade here against 94 makes sense for a day trade.
So with QBTS, we are still trying to get some support from the 50-day SMA. We've been getting that support for the past 4 trading days now. We are also at a bit of a support area at, looks like it's like 29. We're slightly just beneath that. So another area there. Maybe I would say actually let's put it at 28. To the downside support, you have at 24. Resistance is going to be at 32. And then you also have the 20-day SMA at 33.28. That's going to be the next level above 32. So those would be the different areas of support and resistance that I see. Support going to be, the 50-day SMA, 28, and then even lower 24. To the resistance to the upside, 32, and the 20-day SMA. That's for QBTS.
Okay. Good breakdown there in QBTS. Bharat, I appreciate that. I re-entered short here. I literally tried to just sell a little bit short there, and the price dipped in a buck, a full-on $1. It sold off right from that spot. Okay, 80 cents. Sold off right from that spot. I did not get filled. I'll tell you what, this looks like this is going to hunt lower. Bharat got an 86 price target as support if this continues to break down. ENGN is open now. We did pop above the VWAP here. Now it's pulling a little bit. ENGN, no trade for me on this one.
Yeah, it's still trying to make its way through that resistance area that we were looking at. And if it does, it's going to go to 10.
Also, Palantir here, that did wick down past 190. It's bounced back above 190, but...
And there we go. Through 10.
There, oh my God, ENGN. This is going to halt here, 1034. Great call, 13. You in that one? You take that? You got nailed there?
I'm not in anymore. I just got filled.
Yeah, okay. Here we go.
It could still go. It could still go some more, but I only wanted to be in this up until we hit some of these pre-market resistance levels.
Okay, you went right to it there and stopped dead on it. ENGN halted to the upside, 1034.
So that was a good one.
Bharat mentioning that NVIDIA continues to sell off here. That should bode well for maybe more downside here on CoreWeave.
Yeah. Smoke, did you get ENGN too? I thought you wrote something else there with the ticker. So DTCK. Let's take a look at this.
Oh, I caught that one.
What is this?
Not what you think.
Yeah, that much is clear. It's just, this chart, this thing exploded at the end of October, going into November, and then we just sank. What is all this? What is going on here with this one?
Palantir, Palantir, I beg your pardon. CoreWeave, CRWV broke 92 there. Looks like lower we go. 91.71 your low print. Amanda, I know that you kind of like this one. You liked it from like right here. Do you have another support area beneath this 91?
Okay, so DTCK is a commodity. It's like a agricultural play for Asia. And that's got a float of less than 8 million. I don't see the news that it's what it's moving on now. So, and it looks like it's, what is this, a Singapore company? Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out as I go.
Yeah, that's all good. And I'm not doing you any favors here because I'm rolling through some of the other stocks here. Here is DTCK, Davis Commodities.
Yeah, it looks like this is a
Singapore, and indeed company. Is based in Singapore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I think sugar, rice, oil, and fat products.
Yeah, lots of things that that China needs, because they don't really have a big agricultural system over there. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's down at the, it's coming off the support area. I mean, there's the 20-day SMA up just above 2. So it looks like 2 could be in the cards in the short term, but I don't know how much higher than that, to be honest.
What are our thoughts on Circle? Here's your CRCL chart here. Real quick. Circle, by the way, this is actually set to report earnings, is it not? Yeah, this is going to report tomorrow before the market opens. What I think about Circle is the same thing that I think about Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin seems weak. I'm unsurprised to see this type of price action here on Circle. This is going to be your stable coin issuer. Yep.
There was a mention about IDAI earlier this morning, and it looks like we are about at the high of yesterday. And the price action that we've had since we hit that high yesterday, it looks like we're trying to break over 469. Seems like $5 could be in the cards this week.
Okay, with no new news yet here on IDAI. I think we're still anticipating some. Yeah. Circle, by the way, flirting with that $100 level. What else do we got here?
Okay. Well, Wisdoms, you're going to have fun wood shopping. Yes, I am in IDAI.
Yes, so am I. I did sell some of that, but I'm still in it.
Anything good about retail lately? Like retail as a sector, or like just, sorry, I guess I don't understand what you're saying there. That's probably my fault. SMR is hitting the 500 on the weekly, says Zach. Sorry,
I haven't heard anything about retail lately. I think what you mean is like retail, like retailers, like how their sales are doing, how traffic's doing. Yeah, he went on to say like clothes. Remember,
gotcha.
Still kind of looking at Lululemon here. This did a really good job holding 160. We talked about Lululemon. This is it finally is in a very, very positive seasonality trend. And it sure looks like it's held up 160 here. maybe we get some another move higher here on Lulu. I did not take that one yet. ENGN, this is open. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing there. Here's ENGN 1025.
Yep. It looking to break 11 because 1092 is the high. There it is. There's 11 right there. A little bit more.
Good volume here, ENGN.
And that's the third. This is about to be the third halt here. And maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they keep going.
I've got this frozen here at 11:13.
It started moving a second ago, but yeah, it looks like it is going to halt here. Nope. See, they moved it again.
Yep, they moved it again right at the end there.
Lululemon still has resistance at 180. There's been a couple of instances where it's got up there and just immediately did a 180, and then the most recent visit in October, we did print above it and then came right back in after we not necessarily gap filled, but we came up to a former support level around 186. Still looking like a 180 is going to be a resistance level for Lulu.
I mentioned Lulu on purpose just for wisdom because I know we get such a kick out of it. By the way, really quick here, CoreWeave, the plan on CoreWeave, this worked. I might have to be a little bit more aggressive on the short side, considering some of these short moves. It really is the elevator down, even when you're looking at the level 2 price ladder. I literally had this trade run away from me here. We did back test 94, then rolled over here, and more weakness here. Bharat, you've been all over this from the beginning. We lost 92. We're in a 91 handle here. NVIDIA continues to sell off. The NASDAQ, the bounce that we talked about earlier, that's gone. That's moved lower now. So it looks like you still have some more weakness up on some of these names. Good stuff there, Bharat.
NBIS looks like this is going to potentially go to 101, 101.25, maybe 102, somewhere between 101 and 102. This looks like NBIS is headed for.
Okay, so you're seeing some more downside here, maybe 100 test on MBIS. Zeal's asking, where would CoreWeave find major support for a swing position? Last time we talked about that, I think 86 was the level that we came up with for that, Zeal. 86, so 5 points away from where we're currently at.
Yeah, it doesn't look like, I mean, this just lost the 200 EMA on the daily chart. Let me look at my other chart here. Okay, support, I would probably say is coming down. 80 seems like the spot. It could reverse soon because we are getting really oversold. There could be some support coming at around 85. Some of the lows we were seeing in September. That would be the next area of support. But after that, probably won't see support until maybe lower in the 70s or the high 60s.
Perfect. Thank you, day trader. That's actually great. That should give us so I'm just going to share this here real quick. This is the spreadsheet that day trader made for the group here. Really good job on this. And here it looks like this is the column here. So we were talking a little bit about how some of these plays not working out all that great. Tell you what, it sure looks like it's hit or miss, right? Some of these are still holding on to triple-digit upside gains when a lot of these have double-digit downside losses. CCCM looks to be one of the bigger ones there. Sorry, I just scrolled by accident. Oh, looks like the data's changing on me here. CCCM was one that we was just looking at there. Thank you for adding this, though, day trader. Okay, let me go back to I'm not sure what the next trade is to make on some of these. I guess if you have more kind of a long-term view, probably in some of those. By the way, CoreWeave CEO, this was last hour. So Michael Intrader was on CNBC. This is not live, though. I missed what he said. Maybe that's accounting for the move down. Brian, is there a link for that? Yeah. Let me throw that in the chat here again.
KLTR turning around, getting some support from the 65 EMA. Needs more volume, but this is trying to push a little bit higher right now. Current high of the session is 188. And there it goes.
Here we go. Going right to its VWAP.
Yep, there's a seller on the way at 189, another seller at 195, and then two. Looks like CoreWeave trying to find some support right now. Don't know if that's going to hold up.
Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. Axon, big put sweep here. 381 contracts. This is the 580 put. So these are actually in the money by $10. Part of me wonders if this is a closing trade. The expiry on this was January 16th of next year. Trader 1.72 million on that trade. 1.72 million. I'm almost wonder if that's a closing order from the earnings move down here that they're finally closing into the strength.
If it isn't, it certainly looks like this is preparing to go lower and lose its 560 level.
Yep, I'm looking at that right here on the chart. I'm with you on that 100%. I'm not sure what to make of that.
If this loses the 560 level, I would think that we see 500.
Okay, well, there you go. I'll tell you what, those 1.2 million or whatever in puts would be worth way more than that if we break that one.
And it wouldn't be a move that I would expect to see right away. I mean, we could go underneath 560 and then try, spend several days trying to recapture it. But if we do not recapture 560, it seems to me like 500 is the next big support area. Maybe, Jay. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just struggling to figure out if that's a new buy, if that's an old one. I don't really know from the data that we have. And by the way, I'm seeing a lot of NVIDIA options trade here, but they are in both directions. I can't necessarily discern a direction from any of those large aggressive trades. Reddit here moving to the high, sorry.
KLTR trying to get through that seller at 189. Looks like Rigetti is selling off a little bit more. ENGN, this isn't breaking down. It's kind of just cooling off, it looks like, and potentially getting ready for its next move.
I was going to say, if that doesn't break down and it just holds up here, maybe another move through 11 is next. So Brian here, this is an interesting question. Brian here asking, could the market be pulling down for a nice run tomorrow when the government reopens? So we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Didn't we kind of think about a possible sell the news, right? Like we got a pop yesterday on the rumblings that the government shutdown might be ending. Today, really no follow through on that. Part of me wonders, Brian, if this is a sell the news thing.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too, because on Friday we started to see some of that selling, and then we saw some more of it today. And it was on Friday that we started to get, I believe Chuck Schumer was trying to get it or made it some kind of deal offering. And I think that's what started to get this whole thing going about the shutdown potentially being ending. So when I started to see the selling as the shutdown might be coming into an end, I think it's going to be a sell the news. That's kind of what I'm at right now with this, is that the shutdown will be a sell the news event. I agree.
Okay, and I mean, that it's worth mentioning that the market is still, I know we're a little bit lower here today, but the market is still up very, very close to all-time highs. So a sell the news event wouldn't even really be catastrophic, frankly.
No, it'd actually probably be pretty healthy, to be honest.
Yeah,
we didn't get enough of a pullback in the market. I think it was just a little more than 4% that we went down. I don't think that's enough. We need to be over 5, at least.
Apple here chugging around 273.5. That actually might curl up a little bit more too.
Yeah, Tracy, later on it could turn around. Yeah, absolutely. Right, Tess. We need to actually get it through both the House and the Senate. You're right. And then, once it does that, I'm sure that there won't be any issue signing the order to reopen by Trump.
That's still good information, though, if you're planning on doing a sell the news trade on that, or really even either direction, frankly.
Wow. SOC. hit 715. Just a slow secret mover.
Do we feel like maybe we are seeing a little bit lower volume and more muted moves on Veterans Day here? I know equity market obviously is open, but with the bond market being closed, maybe we're seeing some lower volume. Is he mentioning Rivian, which is at the top of my list?
CoreWeave and NBIS getting a little bit of a bounce here. I don't know if this is anything material, but they're both putting in a pretty good sized green candle. Let's see here. What's the volume today in the SPY?
Wisdom, we appreciate you, man. Have a blessed and dressed day yourself.
Take care, Wisdom.
Thanks for stopping by and saying nice things to our group. Be sure to hit that like button on your way out if you haven't already.
Oh, man. All right, let's see here. I was looking at the SPY. Looking at the volume.
EBAI, this has been pretty disappointing here today, too. Really no movement on that. And here's Chipotle. We need our resident Chipotle frequenter to go back. Chipotle, new lows here. Breaking a 30 handle. God, this thing just cannot get out of its own way.
Yep.
More lows here on Chipotle.
Let's see here, because I still think I was looking for some more downside in this one. I think I was looking for 28. That sounds about what I was looking for. I wish I had marked off that level when I said it, but 28 looks like the spot. Maybe lower, maybe 24. Wish I had remembered what that was, or at least put a line out there. Matter of fact, actually, hold on a second. I think I can figure out what I did.
D-Nut making the scanner here. Krispy Kreme. What are we doing here? Krispy Kreme, this looks like this wants to go higher.
Yeah, Chipotle could still go to 24. All right. Donut.
So Feno here said he's going to go back to Chipotle. I don't know if that's going to be enough to save it from the lost 30 handle. 24, you said, is the next spot?
28 is the next spot. I think it's still a chance it could go as low as 24.
Wall Street Journal had an article, Anthropic is on track to turn a profit much faster than OpenAI. Boy, I'll tell you what, though, that it's going to be the Wild West when we get multiple IPOs next year for some of these companies. And I don't even know for sure that that's going to happen. I suspect it is, but we'll see. By the way, that little quick bounce that we were seeing there in CoreWeave, yeah, that got deleted here. Barat, you on the table yet? 90 break looks like it's coming here on CoreWeave. Cores is going to be the other one. This one down a little bit less than CoreWeave, but the same action. Chart looks the same.
So one thing that it's interesting here about DNET, and this depends on, if we're going to close above it. This is we're trading above the 200-day SMA, and this, if we close above it, that would be the first time that we've closed above it since November 6th of last year. So that could be pretty significant. We have traded above it. We've tried to close above it, but until maybe today, we have not closed above it since November last year. So I think that would mark a big shift in this stock's upside performance.
Here's DNUT here. CoreWeave, it looks like that's going to break 90 here. And by the way, Palantir, I know PLTR, we've been kind of distracted with some of these other data center names here, but look at Palantir. We're actually losing this level again here. PLTR. Maybe we come in. I got 184, probably the next stop here. That's 4 points lower than where we're at. I don't have any more PLTZ. That might be one I need to start looking at for a potential ad spot. 575 was probably the buy. They're currently at almost 6.
You might get some prints slightly underneath 187, but I think that's where we're headed. 187, like 186 to 187, somewhere in there, I think is going to be the support we're looking for.
New highs on Apple, 274.74.
Okay. IDAI still climbing higher. 473 is now the high.
Ryan, I covered my CoreWeave short, and you've moved to a Palantir short. Okay, well, we're clearly breaking these levels, Bharat, so it sure looks to me like you're following what the chart's telling you to do. Good stuff on that. I'll give you a sound effect for that one.
SOC, new highs, 727 now. We are almost at the pre-market high from yesterday, which was 739, and it could go higher.
Put the clouds and the 100 simple moving average. We're at it here on the monthly, bottom of the monthly cloud. Okay, so let me see if I can figure out what you're saying to do here, Glenn. Glenn telling me to add the clouds to the Chipotle chart here. And you said on the monthly, we're right at the 100 month. Well, that checks out. Let's go ahead and see what we got for Ichimoku cloud. All right, so it looks like we're pretty much midway through the cloud right here. What did you say in your, put the clouds on, we're at it here on the monthly. Bottom of the monthly cloud is 2608. Okay, so Glenn, you're looking for this being your next support spot here on Chipotle. It's 26, you had it at 2608. I'm basically ballparking it by estimating here. 2608, so just about $26, and you're getting this from the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly as the stock hovers at its 100-month moving average.
KLTR is still trying to get into this 189 area where there were some sellers. If it does, it can get up to 195, where there's the next tranche of sellers, but it keeps hammering this 189 area.
Can't get above its VWAP yet. Izzy here asking Target, Nike, and Walmart, Ryan, why up? Well, that you're basically seeing these are just retailers, right? And Nike, this has been one that's been relatively weak this year. Yeah, indeed. Mm-hmm. Walmart, the opposite of that, though. Let me make sure I'm getting your list correctly here. Walmart, Target, and Nike. Walmart's been strong all year here, really for a while. This one's a little bit different than Nike. Target was the other one that you'd mentioned here. So I don't know what's common amongst all of those other than they're just retailers. Maybe it's a popular spot for holiday shopping. I don't know.
I mean, it's, you know, if we're going to rotate out of tech, it's probably going to be into the more hammered down sectors, and none are more hammered down than consumer discretionary and staples and healthcare. So I would think that some of these really hammered down names in those sectors are going to get the attention as the rotation out of tech happens.
Okay. So there we go. Target actually has news here. Target lowers the price on 3,000 food, beverage, and essential items, brings back the Thanksgiving dinner for under $5 per person, and donates $500,000 to Feeding America to provide 5 million meals nationwide. So Target's up by 1%. Target does report Wednesday, so tomorrow before the open. That's something to keep in mind there.
GLTO is getting mentioned, and this was a mover yesterday, and it got support at $15, and it hasn't broken down and filled the gap from yesterday yet. So maybe there's something more with this one.
And you said that was GLTO, correct?
Yep, that's it. All right, so ENG, and that looks like that might be finished if it loses VWAP here. It's testing it right now, but it's a nice. I mean, it could still make some more moves, but right now this is down testing the VWAP, so it needs to hold above it if we're going to see some higher prints.
CYCU, wasn't this one from our movers list earlier? Yep, indeed it is.
Yeah, that was getting mentioned by Crow. I think he was saying it was on watch for him. So
yeah, we did this is the one that we did the exclusive news on yesterday. Trying to confirm that here. Yep. And we also did it on November 5th when they got a $1 million contract.
Tesla's being pounded, says Izzy. Nike's doing collab with Skims. Maybe we'll see. We'll see if that gets any traction for the company, it's one of the directions they're trying to take. Let's see. So getting a little back off with IDAI. Is Smoke Tuna still out there? What's going on with QNRX? Is this going to go sideways and recapture some levels, or is this thing dead? Might be a trend line here with this one. I don't know how this is going to work, but I'll draw it anyway.
Mo mentioning LFS. This is Leaf Frost. This popping here on volume, saying that there's no news for this one. Yeah, last piece of news I have here is for November 5th. Let me see if there was a squawk on this.
This is about a month old. It just got rejected at the side of its 20-day SMA. What does this company even do? Dedicated youth, sports, and community engagement. Provides services related to organization and operations of sports schools and sport events for children. In which country? So it's ADS. I don't know if that's necessarily American. I don't have a float read on this. It's a new company. Looks like Japan.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with this one.
This is a Japanese company.
Real quick, Jay here giving us another long-term idea here. SSRI? Oh, SSII. Okay, it's not selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. That's good. SSII, small caps that you started buying. It's an Indian name in the robotic surgery theme. It's thin, but I like it from the 5 to 7 level. I believe they will slowly get share from ISRG, and you have a long-term time horizon on this. So you like this right down here. I'll tell you what, Jay, the level here actually looks pretty good.
Frozen King, it's Jets. JETS.
Jets. Sorry.
Yeah, there's some airline news about how flight cancellations and delays are probably going to continue even after the government reopens. KLTR, that was getting mentioned earlier, that's above 190 now. Looks like ENGN might be getting ready to take the next leg up. It's getting support from the VWAP. Got to get through 975. And is that all that looks good at the moment? Maybe. Let's see what ENGN can do.
Take a look at ENGN. I'll do some looking into this SSII, Jay. This is a good mention. Always interested in new small caps like that have a potential 10x possibility.
GLTO was getting mentioned. That moved through the 65 EMA. It's currently getting support from the 65 EMA right now. Looking for the next leg up. Might come into resistance at about 2050.
Yeah, Palantir, lots of sellers. You're right about that, Barat. 187 now as that continues to move lower here. 187.5. Crow likes CYCU. We'll see. That still hasn't got back to its VWAP. Would like to see that there. And then ENGN, you like this because this came back into the VWAP and held it? Like maybe another possible move to 11?
It looked like it was it's trying to get going here. It just needed some more volume. That's really the last component I think it needs here to get away from the VWAP is just some more volume. There's resistance at about 985. But if it gets through that, then we're in the tens.
Interesting. Glenn here regarding Chipotle. Chipotle Mexican Grill struggles to attract customers ages 25 to 35, facing competition from budget-friendly chains. CEO Scott Boatwright aims to reshape Chipotle's value and affordability concerns. So that's interesting. That's an interesting piece of data. I view Chipotle as the cheap option. Like if I'm ever
what's cheaper?
That I mean, from reading that, what I want to say is like people view Taco Bell or Qdoba as a competitor. I don't really know. I'm just kind of guessing from that. To me, if I'm looking for something cheap and inexpensive that I know what I'm going to get, Chipotle is the move. Yeah, I'm not saying it's breaking news there, Izzy. I'm just thinking about Chipotle as a trade here. I mean, we've been discussing Chipotle as a stock for a while, really since that split. And I mean, at some point, I got to think that's a buy there. Rick saying Mag 7 are all in the top 10 losers on my watch list right now. Rick, that kind of tells me that this rotation out of some of the high-flying mega cap tech, namely the Magnificent Seven, we talked about the next phase of this market. If it's not going to be a sell-off, like a big correction, it's likely going to be rotation. And it would be those Mag 7 names that we're talking about. Glenn, I'm outside of that range. I'm not 25 to 35. Sometimes I wish I was, but I'm not that young anymore.
Of the Mag 7, NVIDIA is down the most, followed by Tesla and Meta. Apple is positive on the day.
Thank you. Amanda saying it's crazy to think that at these levels pre-split, Chipotle would be trading at $300. Remember what a beast that thing was? Yeah, wasn't it like $1,500?
Wow. It's really come in that much, huh?
It's come in quite a bit.
CoreWeave and NBIS are curling. NBIS more than curl.
Palantir put in a reversal candle on the 5, but we'll see if that holds for the rest of the day here.
Huge pullback. 1,800. It was at 1,800.
1,800. Wow. Excuse me. I think I said 15. Sorry, Anne Marie. Huge pullback is right. I tell you what, these stocks. Don't forget, they don't just go straight up. They can go down. I know we don't see a lot of that, but man, oh man.
ENGN.
They did a 50 to 1, Amanda. 50 to 1.
It's getting a little bit volume. ENGN might provide some more upside. It just needs the volume component right now. Yeah, CMG 24 to 28. Somewhere in there, I think you'll see your bottom. Well, let's see. What looks like CYCU is still having some breakout troubles. That pulled back beneath the VWAP.
Thanks for the donut, guys. Gil, I don't think we did anything, but I will take your kind words. You are welcome, boss. Here you go. Register ring. Enjoy the heart attack ring. I mean, look, I say that now, but here's the cold, hard truth of the matter. If someone put a plate down in my office that had a Krispy Kreme or 2 on it, they would get deleted. So I can say whatever I want about the health of those things. They are absolutely delicious. And when they're a little bit warm, I'm defenseless.
KLTR, new session highs. So that's working pretty well. Next resistance area is at 2, where there's a big seller in the way. But this has been a pretty good one this morning, coming off of the 200 EMA. 20 cents. Looks like SOC is finally coming back in some more after going on looks like a $1.25 run almost. We had a nice pop there in GLTO to new session highs. The sideways consolidation from the pre-market provided some resistance. So that whole supply zone is where it got rejected at just over 21.
Okay. Yeah, Jay saying, meanwhile, days like today, they tend to flock to the Apple Hotel. That's going to be your safety trade here. Apple, that is the one higher here, as Rick was outlining.
Yeah, but Frozen King, they're like all Shipleys, though. You know what I'm saying? And Newegg is a Wild West name. I mean, that's a gamer name.
Which one?
Newegg, Negg.
Oh yeah. God, that used to be my store, 13.
It was everybody's store when the whole Bitcoin mining craze was going on. Do you see? Remember, look at the whole run it had in 2021.
I was off. I was already buying parts from other places by then. I mean, when I was younger, like back before Bitcoin was even a thing in Satoshi's mind, I was the amount of products that I've ordered from Newegg. You ever remember the time in between the days that you placed the order and the days that they showed up at your house? Felt like an eternity. Felt like a damn eternity waiting for that stuff to get delivered.
When you really needed a part. When you really needed a part, absolutely. It did feel like that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so yeah, CoreWeave and NBIS still kind of curling here. This is looking like a bit of recovery is happening here with these two. CoreWeave has VWAP at 92.97, so we'll just kind of call it 93. That's going to be the resistance area I'd be looking at with that one. NBIS, its VWAP is at 106.40, which is not too far away from where the current price is at. Both these look like they're trying to recover. They're trying to recover.
So, Fun Human USA saying, don't forget CompUSA. So I have a funny CompUSA story. CompUSA, the last one I ever saw, I went there, this is years ago. I went there because the graphics card that I had in my computer, one of the heat sinks, or one of the fans died and it wasn't cooling. So I bought a graphics card, heatsink, and fan replacement set from CompUSA. First time I've ever done that. I had to ask for help. I got this old guy. He had nose hair busting out of his nose like I've never seen before. And he had the craziest big caterpillar unibrow that I have ever seen in my life. But he knew his computer parts and he told me what to buy. And that night I pried my graphics card apart, replaced the fan and the heat sinks, threw it back into my computer, and I was gaming that night. That night. That was the last time I stepped foot in a CompUSA store. They closed shortly after that, and I never saw our nose hair friend again.
We're going back in time now. We got Izzy saying Circuit City. I'll drop Good Guys, Computer City. Fry's is still around.
Micro Center's still around.
Although they are very few and far between now. But all these names.
Joe saying, I trust the poorly groomed more for tech advice. That was my thought too. I was like, I think I got the right guy. And then lo and behold, the product that he recommended and the little tip that he gave me, he also recommended some thermal grease that it all ended up working. So you're exactly right. And it's not, necessarily a criticism. I was a little taken aback, but I got exactly what I looked for. By the way, regarding the rotation that we were talking about earlier, Conagra Brands showing up on the scanner. This rarely shows up on the scanner. This is one of the consumer staples that pays like a 7% dividend. This might, what do you think about this, Jay? What do you think about this being a place where people might park their money while they're expecting maybe some air to get let out of some of these high flyers? I think pays a 7+% dividend.
At this price? Holy crap.
This price? Yeah.
I think if this is going to be a dividend play, this is where you would want to look and see how strong that dividend continuing to get paid is. Are they going to cut it? Are they going to not raise it at any point? I mean, look, you got to look at the history of the dividend. This one, it could be great, and it's a massive yield at this price. I just would be concerned about whether or not that dividend's going to hold up if they are in some operational trouble.
I don't think Conagra Brands is in operational trouble. I don't know for sure. Okay, 13. I don't know for sure, but I would guess that that's not the case.
Well, when it's making new all-time lows, in its history, I'd be questioning why that is. So, and if I'm going to pick this up for a dividend play, I'm going to want to know that this is going to turn around and continue to pay that dividend despite what the chart looks.
Very fair. Really quick, a number of you folks are mentioning Crazy Eddie.
I never heard of Crazy Eddies.
I don't even know what that is. Alexa, Ryan, you ever hear about Crazy Eddies? No. Anne Marie says, Crazy Eddie, what a crazy time. Did they make a Seinfeld about this? Where Jerry's foot fell asleep and then he was and the guy walked with a limp and he thought he was insulting him. Is that Crazy Eddie or was that a modification of that? The Wiz, I remember. That's also a Seinfeld mention, by the way. Yes, in New York. Okay, Crazy Eddie's in New York. That had to have been what that was. I know about that from Seinfeld. Take that.
So when it comes to Zim as a dividend play, the thing you need to understand about this company is that they only pay out dividends if they've been profitable. Their dividend payout is very much tied to their revenue. And they typically negotiate contracts in the first 2 quarters of the year. So I don't think that we're going to be getting any new contract negotiations. Maybe they're starting to do that as we go into next quarter. But right now, everything that they're going to be making is already based off of current contracts. Then the important thing to understand about the dividends is that it is not a consistent thing that they do. So if they don't, have great sales figures one year or one quarter, they're not paying out a dividend. So that's just something to consider if you're going to be holding on to Zim for a dividend play.
Yeah, and then pause here saying Car might have slumped because of the farming tariff stuff. I don't think so.
No, maybe on the feed side, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, this is a massive downturn for it. Let's look. I mean,
here's your daily, dude. Look at this thing.
And this was going down before Trump was elected and the tariffs came into play. So there's something else happening here with this.
Yeah, this is September of 2024.
Yeah. That was before the election too. So
yeah.
The tariffs I don't think have really anything to do with the downside it's been experiencing.
Amanda says, I was watching Witcher with my human this week. Maybe Amanda's cat has taken control. I don't know. Or maybe you mean your kid. I was like, look, it's Mickey from Seinfeld. And my best friend was like, not everything needs to be a Seinfeld reference. Amanda says, well, I disagree. Amanda, that reminds me of the Pet Fresh commercial where the people come over and they're like, you're keeping dog food in your fridge. And then they kick the person out because it's like, yeah, of course. That sounds like that situation. Your friend saying not everything needs to be a Seinfeld reference. Well, you might need to go home now. Because yes, actually you get bonus points when things are a Seinfeld reference. Like how Day Trader called me cultured because I knew that through Seinfeld. That's a dub today for sure. Chris says, if you liked CAG at 32, you'll love it at 17. I didn't like it at 32, but it is definitely more attractive at 17. And I see the appeal here of thinking consumer staples might be another place for people to rotate into and might as well get paid while you hold it. ENGN?
Yeah, we're starting to get a little bit of movement here. Still trying to hold above its VWAP. It just started getting some movement up towards 10. Yep. So just wanted to make sure that I flag people's radars with this one.
And see, here's the thing. Jay saying, Conagra, if names like Chipotle are suffering, won't people be eating more at home?
I think that's already been the case.
Yeah, me too, right? Like if the economy's bad, if people are really pinched, if the tariffs are so terrible, wouldn't people be eating more at home?
We're paying people like, $20 an hour to serve food at fast food joints. I think that it's becoming pretty tough for a lot of restaurants to survive with how high they have to pay their employees.
So funny story here. First of all, I'm glad I completely forgot about this. I actually made a note to mention this yesterday when I figured out what was going on here. This was fake, guys. So really quickly here, just to reiterate this, Chris here's posting that I like pizza, Ryan. I mean, first of all, everyone likes pizza. If I meet someone, they say, I don't like pizza, I'm suspicious of them and a lot of their other decisions here. It pays a dividend. There's another report that it will go private at 64 per share. Okay, let's review that because yesterday this was a piece of news that broke while we were on the show. And it turns out that this was fake. All right, so the initial news post here, let me see if I can track this all down. I can walk you through it. Here's the tweet. Thank you, producer, for helping out with this. Here's the tweet. Okay. Pizza, be careful. This is the actual uncovering tweet. We saw that this got a whole bunch of halts here. When we figured out what was going on, we saw that there was a post by ABC Money. Well, if you go back to this tweet here, ABC Money Ltd is a private company registered in Wales. This is actually a crypto company. And I don't know if you guys remember, but when this came out, we were looking at the actual news post, and I said, ABC Money, this might be fake. And I didn't really think much of it. I actually did end up trading it for a little bit of a gain. But we found out later in the day that this entire thing was fake. So, Chris, that go private offer at $64 a share, that's totally bunk. Now, shout out to the news desk team here at Benzinga because they were going through this. They obviously posted an update to all of this here. And then I think we had another thing here. Yeah, Seeking Alpha did a story here that this is not true. A person familiar with the deal spoke directly to Speaking Alpha, and they confirmed that this was, in fact, not true. So real interesting. We talked about this yesterday. Not happening. Papa John's does not have a $64 takeover level. I made good money on those pizza options yesterday. There you go, Amanda. Do you have any good pizza up there in Northern Michigan?
Izzy, you've with ENGN that's trying to get through 10. 10 is the big resistance area right now. We just need to see this continue to hold above VWAP. That's going to be more or less support. Now it could go lower to around 925 and get support, like it just did a couple minutes, or I'm sorry, about 10 minutes ago. But that's the area I'd be looking at right now. It's supported at 925, breakout resistance at 10. MTC woke up.
That's one we've traded a bunch before.
Tech. I remember trading this one. I just don't remember the last time we did it. It's going to be delisted.
MTech is going to be delisted, and that's why it's up 28%.
Yep, it faces NASDAQ delisting
awesome.
due to bid price deficiency.
Okay.
And if you give me a second, I could probably figure out when that's going to happen. Okay. Sorry, it's for the dead air.
You're good. No, you're totally fine. I'm out here looking at some other stuff as well, looking around here. We got Anne-Marie coming up in a few minutes.
So it looks like they requested an appeal because it was going to be suspended on the 5th if they didn't request one. So they must have if it's still trading. At least that's what I'm getting from it. So I don't know if that's what's going on right now. If they've got some kind of hearing that they filed for, because it's still trading. So, but the clock's ticking with this one. So I'd be very careful if you're trying to trade this. ENGN revving. Yeah, it's still, I mean, it's the $10 level is where it's going to break out if we get the volume for it. It's been resistant since we lost it. We've been getting that support down around the 920s. Just needs that volume component.
Engine revving. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Smell the petrol.
Buffalo by Bicycle says, I've dialed in my pizza recipe. There are a few things that I like trying more than someone's homemade pizza, especially when they've worked at it for a while. It's
you know what? What's your favorite toppings on your pizza?
Oh, that's an easy one. Pepperoni.
That's it?
Well, I mean,
what's your ideal? Hey, take care, Kevin. Thanks for hanging out with us. What's your ideal toppings for pizza?
Yeah, cheese and pepperoni. I think that's the OG favorite, cheese and pepperoni. But I do like one that's got like pepperoni, onion, green pepper. Like as long as it's not a fungus like mushroom or something I'm allergic to like olives or pineapple, I'm pretty open to it. The Lou Malnati's classic, the sausage and spinach, delicious. Good sausage, delicious.
I like everything on it except black olives and mushrooms. I don't like pineapple. People will like pineapple, whatever. I'm not going to get in that argument, but I like a lot of stuff on my pizza.
Amanda's favorite are mushrooms and pineapple. That says a lot, Amanda. That says an absolute ton. Matt says cheese and sausage. That I get.
Here we go with ENG, and it's back up at 10, trying to get through it. Sorry to change the subject so fast. But,
I mean, you asked such a deep question that has just such passionate answers A world-class Harris-esque pivot is probably a good way to handle that.
Well, I mean, when we got the mushrooms and pineapple, that's when I started hearing torches get lit. So I thought it was a good.
Well, I think that people are trolling here. I think that there are some serious answers here, but I think there's a lot of troll here. Hippo Hero Zero says pepperoni, pineapple, and bacon. Now, why would you want to mess up something as gorgeous as pepperoni and bacon with pineapple?
Some people like sweet pig recipes. That's what that is.
Wiz says, "Damn, I'm starving." Yeah, that's what we do here. All right, you know what? We're gonna do one of those things where we just kind of drop the grenade and leave the room. At least 13's going to. I guess I'm gonna stick around here with Anne Marie. We'll clean up the pieces.
You're gonna dive on the grenade now.
Jeez, better get a helmet. 13. We're out of time here. Any closing words for the group on this fine Veterans Day?
Thank a veteran, folks. Tell them that you appreciate their sacrifice and their service. And it was a great, fun day for trading. We had some pretty good movers. Most of the market not really looking that great. But you know what? Tomorrow's another day. We'll have some more opportunities, and we will take them. So until then, folks, have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Veterans Day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right. Sounds good, 13. Have a good one. We'll see you on happy hour later, and then we will be back at this again tomorrow. 13's departure paves the way for Anne Marie. Let's bring her on and see how she's doing. Anne Marie, how about you? Favorite pizza toppings while we're on the subject?
Basil, tomatoes, garlic.
God, that sounds good. That sounds very similar to what Day Trader here is saying here. Fresh roasted garlic, basil, sun-dried tomatoes, and feta cheese. Man, oh man, I am not going to make my fast today, Anne Marie. All right. What do we got going on in the market here today?
Okay.
You just heard 13 leaving. It felt a little sleepy to us. Maybe it's a little low volume from the Veterans Day?
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
So I want to give a hat tip to 13.
Perfect.
Because folks said, hey, listen, ConAgra, great dividend. And he said, I'd watch out for that. We don't know if that dividend's sustainable. So while I was waiting to come on, I did an AI deep dive, and that's exactly what it said. It said, watch out. They are going to suspend that dividend very, very likely. They have no pricing power. They've got worst-in-class cost management. They have product portfolio problems. They have execution failures. They are at the very bottom compared to Kellanova, which is down. What is that?
Kellanova, what ticker is that again?
K.
K. Oh, right.
Yeah.
K. It used to be Kellogg, right.
Yeah, it's Kellogg's. Yeah, that one is up 2%, and ConAgra is down 39.7% in the same time frame.
Interesting.
And so they are just absolutely getting their lunch handed to them.
Clever play on words there. Also, ConAgra, obviously, with the 7+% dividend. Kellanova pays 2.79. That's really good stuff. Good deal looking.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give him a hat tip. You know, he's just always on. He's on topic. And so the next thing I want to talk about is the analysis I did over the weekend. I looked at the indices as a group, all of them down, right, for the past week. But I looked inside, and the number of instruments in all of the big ones, the SPY, the Qs, the NAS, those sorts of things, they had only the Mag 7 suffering by and large. And so everybody else seemed to have movement into that mid-size to large area. They're all sitting in there. Who's really suffering is nano and micro. Really small stocks, and then the stocks just above that. And so what that's telling me is there's a flight to safety in the middle of the curve. And so they don't want to go to super cheap stocks because we're watching liquidity fall out of those, but we're also seeing liquidity come out of the Mag 7, and that's actually stronger for the SPX as a whole. It's better that we're moving out and taking some profit out of these Mag 7s into the midline group that deserved some of the love potentially. I think it looks pretty good. So I'm not looking for some kind of massive fade over the long haul for
Yeah,
sure.
it sounds to me like what you're saying there is that sounds to me like the setup for healthy rotation into an
Exactly.
unloved sector. That's great.
Yeah,
That would be great.
exactly. So, what can we look at today? A lot of different things. I saw somebody in the chat go, "Hey, Boyle's been a big winner for me. I
Yeah.
want to tell you about this
The
energy."
Widowmaker.
Yeah. Ryan, you and I talked about energy last week, and I said, "Hey, we're going to watch rotations into energy." And we had talked about potentially looking at some solar stuff, but I wanted to also do some analysis before that. So we'll pump the brakes on that and I'll bring the ones to you if that's okay.
Sure.
But nat gas is the cleanest fossil fuel, as it were, and much cleaner than oil, much cleaner than coal, and there's an abundance of it. What we are going to try and do, I think, is watch all of this data center energy move right back into this space. And so this is the seasonal strength. We also are in the middle of a grand solar minimum. Grand solar minimums tell us that by and large, we have milder summers with less big hurricanes. We saw that last season. And we're going to have colder winters. So listen, I am in Tampa, and it was 21 was the feel outside this morning when I was walking my daughter's dog. 21. And
okay,
so,
that's considerable for somewhere in Florida. It's 29 here in Chicago right now.
Yeah, it was so cold. The wind was blowing right off the water, though, right?
Okay,
And that's always the plus there, or the minus, whichever one you're looking at. But Boyle, great instrument. Here's the thing. You want to trade Boyle intraday, or you want to look at the monstrosity of beautiful options in terms of volatility. Listen, kaboom. Now notice, see how it opened up day before yesterday and just crashed like a stone, held the floor, and then started working up. Listen, look for the next pullback. When the next pullback comes, here is a fantastic trade. If it comes in the next little bit, you can look at December and you can go a couple of different ways. See, everybody's looking at the 40. Plenty of, you can still drive a bus through these spreads, no doubt about it. But if you're looking at something that's going to give you a collapse and listen, I love the back ratio right now. It's just an amazing trade. But you can get a credit, uses $1,000 of premium, or $1,700 of premium, and $200 to the upside. But what you want to do is let half of that optionality premium leak out and then hit the road. You're just looking for $100, but it is clockwork money. Clockwork money, I'm telling you. Now, if you say to yourself, well, I don't know about that, you can look at December again, and you can sell the 42 and buy, let's do the 47s. It doesn't look good, but it'll give us a nice spread, right? And then sell the 33s and buy the 28s, right? It'll give you almost 3/4 of the spread The vol, look at it, 106%. Listen, the number one way to lose money in oil is to buy options. You sell them, they're absolutely magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. All right. If you're into it, going to run for about, I'd say about Feb is maybe the top end of the range that Boyle has, and then it starts rotating down. But man, oh man, I've been trading this one for about a year and a half. Holy cow. You want to talk about printing cash. But it's coming into a space where you're going to see nat gas move, and it could move dramatically, which could make for very interesting trades. But right now it's forming a base, and that base is between 32 and 40.
Okay,
So,
and this is how you can actually sell options to make money off of that. Joe here
Yes.
saying, is LNG a seasonal play?
okay, so Cheniere they're well run. Now, do you mean liquefied natural gas, or do you actually mean the company LNG? I don't know what this person is actually
Yeah,
asking.
well, they asked that when we started talking about Boyle, so it's perhaps they're just talking about nat gas in general here, but maybe they
Mostly,
are.
yes, but it depends. This is geopolitical, and it is energy resource space. Now, interestingly enough, Cheniere Energy it's good. Not gas guys, for sure. And you can see them creating a base. Now, seasonally, if we take a look at the price action on the week, it does have an upshot into about Feb, right? Looks like the jagged moves up into about Feb. It's supposed to have a move up into June, July, but listen, truly over the next 9 months, we are going to be sitting in a space that says this time it's different. I promise. The market is getting ready to give us incredible opportunities on both sides. But this is a very well-run company. As far as I recall, its options are, yes, they have low vol. And so you can look at this and go, all right, if I'm staring this down and I think about a December upshot, if we take a look, I hadn't even thought of this one, but this is a pretty nice formation. See, it dips down and then raises again for the Santa rally into December, Jan. So if we take a look at Jan instead of December, and we say, all right, let's look at a spread. And let's see where everybody's piling in. 3,800 up here at 280. That's a pretty big move. I probably would imagine that's a sell spot, right? For that space. That's really far away. But a lot of people are starting to pile in around the 240 edge. You could buy the 240, sell the 260, just $1.78 for $2,000 of upside, and then you can sell the 190, 180 call spread and pay for almost half of it.
Okay.
Right?
More
or
than half
over
of it,
half
yeah.
of it. Yeah, over half of it. So I love that. Hadn't even thought of that, but hat tip to
Joe.
whomever. Yeah,
Joe
absolutely.
Schmo.
All right. Love it, Joe Schmo. So let's talk about CoreWeave. We talked about why this rotation is occurring. I think CoreWeave is going to move lockstep with NVIDIA.
Okay.
I do not like CoreWeave in general. I think it is it's part of the circular wheel, as we were, discussing in times past. So let's take a look at what's actually happened rotationally. This morning, we've got 90% sellers. So people are headed down into this zone. Now, the question is, we just had earnings, and it's rotating down. Remember, we've got that 3-day formation that says, let's see what happens 3 days after earnings. If it holds a direction, we've got ourselves more downside in the mix. If it doesn't hold the direction, we have sideways consolidation. And so you can see here it is. That's the earnings event. Immediately lost everything. 3 days, did not recover, fell into sideways consolidation. So where was the last place this chart actually had inventory accumulation? It was all the way down here, 57. So if I were a betting man and this rotation continues into stocks that are actually generating solid revenue streams out of nondescript places, we would expect that this chart would rotate. Wow, I gotta get rid of this. Okay, let me write down this for my move. Sorry.
All good?
Yeah, good. All right, so here's what we've got. For folks that love this chart, you could easily say, you know what, I'm going to use, okay, why am I not getting that? Let's see, pull this up. I've got the charts really wide, and so let's see if this, aha, here we go. You can get the 120 call. If you're into it, have at it. $2 wide open. I'm not going to touch that trade at all. I think this chart has got some pretty rough sledding ahead. And so in that case, I'm going to go to January and I'm going to take advantage of the savage volatility. And I'm going to go to that 95, 100. I'm going to have a credit there. But what I'm going to end up doing with that credit, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to go down here. Let me see where okay, 500 at the 70 area, 1800 at 65. Okay, how much will this cost me? 121. So if I do a put spread there, it'll cost me 121. I want them to add some other strikes. I think they're going to. I absolutely think they're going to. And I know that seems like, holy cow, Anne-Marie, what are you telling us right there? This is one of the key components that's been the darling, but it's hitched its wagon completely to the motion of NVIDIA. Not that NVIDIA won't hold certain levels, but it will hold those levels with greater strength than CoreWeave, because CoreWeave is the, hey, wait, don't you remember? I'm your girlfriend kind of thing. And so that's what we're watching for. So that would be my thought. I would not put any butterflies here on this particular space. For me, I'm going to open up a brand new, back ratio, and I'm going to do the 100 105s and just collect a wallop of a credit. If it moves back up, great. I make $1,100. If it doesn't, I make $650. So this is my thought here. Really rough go. You can't buy a spread here without figuring a way to sell off that space. And if you're bullish on this one, I'd wait for a little bit, let it stabilize at this 90 area before you decide you're going to go in. All right,
Okay.
next one I want to talk about is Micron. So
Nice.
Micron has been in a move. When you and I were talking about it on Slack, I was like,
Yeah.
Ryan, what the heck? So monstrous moves. And so we were talking, and I said, hey, do you think it's a short squeeze? You said, no, short interest is only like 10%, blah, 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 blah. But it's suffering from the same rut-row. This one is up XYZ from, look at this, April lows, $61, friends. It's 257. So what's that?
More than 4x.
4x, right? That's 400% of this space. And so what we have to think about is, with this rotation from superstar performers, we've got to have something going on. So yesterday I sold a back ratio here, and I think the sideways motion into 230 could give us some pretty nice price action. So you're saying, well, that's not much at all. It's at 240 right now. Yes, it could be more than 230, but look at how gappy all of this is. And we had really 5 solid days of let's try and hold it, let's try and hold it, let's try and hold it. So it's clearly being defended here. So let's take a look at a couple of ways that we can trade this one into November. We could do a cheap one. Let's see how cheap we can get this if it really moves. And where are the traders sitting here? Not too many people on the put side. 200, right? I don't think it's going there. But 210 to 200, 72 cents on that put spread. Not too bad if it continues its rotation. Listen, it's losing $10 today, right? And it's been moving up at a clip just like that.
Feels
10%
like every day it's
moves,
up.
8% moves. I think they'll move down with that level of strength. So that's a good one if you're so inclined. Vol also excellent here. We've got 8,000 here, the 250. Oh, man, I'm going to put another one on today. Look at that. Yeah, the 250 to 260 callback ratio with 10 days. Listen, 30% by Monday. If it just sits still, if it moves $15 still, you're going to make, if it moves $15, you're going to make, $1,500 plus your $1,200. There you have it. Or it does nothing. You get $200. You take 50% of it off. You close it. Bob's your uncle. You're out of there. All right. For December, I think the same thing happens. Rotation perspective gives it, again, pretty good vol. You can do something like 11,000 at 280. I like that. That's obviously where the wall is.
Yeah.
So we have 280 to 290. And then let's see where 190 is where the put wall is. 190 to 180, right? 309 credit on the iron condor. And if, per happenstance, you did decide to do you could do the 200, 190 put spread if you want to follow the money, right? And that's $1.85. Twice as much as the November one, but it really is giving you a fair bit of time to get into that range. So that's my thought there. Here's what's next. Somebody said, hey, who's on the long Oracle train? Listen, Oracle, one, has invested too much in the OpenAI deal. It's not going to run hot against its competitors. It just will not have the pricing power to do it or the services. A huge report came out, Baiynd Capital. I think they did it like maybe 40, 50 days ago. And you guys know Baiynd Capital is Nancy Pelosi's husband. Baiynd Capital came out and said, listen, the shortfalls that are going to come from some of these OpenAI deals are going to be dramatic. But one of the ones that is really going to suffer is Oracle. Now, that being said, guess what they just did? They just filled this monstrosity of a gap, right? Now, you would think that if a chart had some solid pricing power and it was going places, that it would bounce off of that gap fill. So guess what? 3 days, they tried to hold it, lost it, tried to hold it again, and lost it. That's almost 5 days hanging on here. Any bounce right now is a sell zone. This one is a short until, wow, did I sound overly negative today? This is just natural rotation, folks, truly. Nothing like natural rotation.
You sound like you're listening to the market, is what it sounds like.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh.
Right? I'm trying to watch the rotations. Inventory accumulation tells us that the base of this box is down here at 210, right? There's a little bit of a gap here that hasn't quite filled. And then just below that is the last inventory bounce. This is a 3-week inventory event. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-week inventory event. And so we've got this rotation. My thought is bounces or sells in this particular space for sure. How would you want to trade that? Well, listen, if you're long Oracle, sell some calls against it. If you're long the stock, you can sell them out of the money. What you want is to cushion. The goal is not to be right. The goal is to manage risk. That's the difference between people who end up making millions of dollars for many decades and people who don't. You got to manage your risk. You can have a belief in Oracle. Larry Ellison has done really tremendous things with this company. He could still come in and do X, Y, or Z. And you might say, yes, Anne-Marie, but do you see the pullback on declining volume? Yes, of course I do. Of course I do. But for now, this rotation is going to be into an area that it tries to stabilize under a cheaper price. And right now, traders are going, hey, that's still too expensive, right? I mean, you're selling apples going, take it, whatever. $2.30, I'll sell it to you for that. You're just trying to get rid of your apples out of the basket, right? My thought is that 200 event's going to look sweet. It really is. Now, the question is, earnings coming in, 12.8. What are we going to do there? It might be a potential space to say long term, if you go, Oracle might pull this out. We can talk about leaps when it gets a little bit closer. We'll talk about that. But right now, we've got ourselves a little bit of a sideways space. I don't want to be aggressively long or aggressively short. However, what I will say is now that it's getting down into this area, you can look at these December spaces and say, hey, what about, let's see where they're sitting. What about the 190, 180? Whoa, 280. That's perfect. Right at the call wall. 280, 290. Iron Condor. You make money if it goes up. You make money if it goes down. You make money if it does nothing.
Got all your bases covered, it sounds like, right there. Okay. Good stuff here on Oracle. Oracle just filled that gap and went today and touched their 30-week SMA. I think that's what we had there when we were looking at the chart. Anne-Marie, I think you actually covered exactly that. Okay. Anne-Marie, really good stuff here. I hope it warms up for you down there in Tampa.
Yeah,
hopefully you get a little bit warmer weather there. I'm about to go outside. I'm about to go get a couple of miles done in the cold and the snow.
Can I tell you, I'm so jealous. I love the cold weather. I was out there this morning at 6 a.m. with the dog. I just love cold weather. I miss it so much.
Let's go. Okay, well, you know what? It found you in Florida, so it was able to find you here today. Anne-Marie, thanks. Really good stuff. We're going to see you again on Friday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to have some more earnings reports out of the way, and maybe we'll be able to talk about a potential government reopening and set up some trades around that. So we'll see.
PreMarket says Wednesday, but we'll see, right?
Yep. And PreMarket, by the way, they did a deal with Prize Picks this morning. 13 has been saying that the prediction markets are going to take business away from sports bets like DraftKings, Flutter. And now you're seeing the deal with Prize Picks this morning. He might be onto something. Maybe we'll look at all that. Anne-Marie, really good stuff here today. Thank you very much. We'll see you on Friday.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Right. That is Anne-Marie. We're done here for today. No Paul Meeks today. He should be back next week, though. Thanks for hanging out with us, having some laughs with us, and, of course, talking about donuts and pizza. It would not be a Tuesday if we did not do that stuff. I appreciate all of your Seinfeld references and look forward to more tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll be back here for Hump Day.